Hey, good morning, everybody. You might think that this is 6 months ago, but it is
Right.
not, Mike Shaw. It is not.
It's today. It's happening right now.
Happening right now. We're
Yeah,
doing it. We're
that's
here and
right.
we're doing it like the good old days. And
Love it.
so I was so excited to get a message from my good friend Mike Shaw, just talking about he wants to go live. I mean, I think it took me all of 3 seconds to make a thumbnail and set up a link.
Where were we? We were watching someone else's live and we were chatting. Oh, it was
We
Sue.
were.
It was
It was
Sue.
Sue. It was Sue
Yeah,
because I think
yeah.
she's new at this live stream thing. If you
Yes.
haven't checked out Sue's channel,
Yeah.
what is it now? I think it's changed a few times.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't recall. Now I'm being bad. But Sue Woolidge is her name. She is
Mhm.
from, I think, New Zealand.
I think that's
And
right.
hi Tracy. Good morning. Nice to see you. Your cousin is here, Mike.
Hey, Trace. What's up, cuz?
I saw that she was live and I thought, let me go on there, and lo and behold, there you were in the comments talking about wanting to go live. So
I was
here
like,
we are.
let's get the band back together again.
That's it. So
Mhm.
I wanted to start because it's been 6 months, like talking about like how are you eating now? Because I know you moved, you had a big move,
Yep.
you had a job change,
Yep.
a lot of stuff has happened.
Yep.
So
A
what's
lot.
going
A lot has a
What's
lot
going
has
on with
happened.
you and your diet? Are you still carnivore, keto, low carb? Are you doing any of those things
Yeah,
still?
I call it ketovore. I'm doing ketovore again. So after a lapse, I was really strict carnivore about a year ago, maybe a little, yeah, about a year ago, maybe a little more. And at towards the end of that, I got my labs done. They were fantastic. My HDL was down a little bit, and my of course my LDL was way up there, not like yours, but way up there. And so the doctor who used to be a carnivore and was low carb, uh, he goes, I have to recommend a statin because he has to, standard of care, I guess. So, and he knew I was going to refuse, and I did, and he was fine. But what happened was, and this is why, getting discouraged is a really bad idea. I wasn't losing weight. And I'm pretty sure it's because I was sitting on my rear end all the time and not doing not really moving a lot. And so I wasn't gaining weight, but I wasn't losing any weight. And I could lose 50 pounds and that would be great. And so I just got discouraged and said, the heck with this, and started having pizza again and, even ice cream once in a while, and just went back to my old ways. And so I put on another like 20 pounds or something, 15, 20, whatever it was. And yeah, it was not good. And so now I'm in Texas. So Simpson, I'm in Texas now and got a really cool job here. And it's my grandson lives in this town and my kids are nearby, close enough that I've seen them a few times, and I've been here about 2 months, a little more. And so I've got to hang out with them. And, I just decided I wasn't feeling great. Certainly still don't really look great, but I wasn't feeling good at all. And so I'm like, I got to get back. I got to get back to, I don't know anything else anymore except, low carb. And it does work for me I've done it a couple times where I've really lost a lot of weight and have felt really good. And so, this time it just has to be a lifestyle change and I have to stick with it for the rest of my life. And, hopefully I'll lose a lot of weight. It is one of my goals, but it's not my top goal. I just want to be healthy again. And you're going to love this, Cristie. I joined the gym. Finally.
That is fantastic. I did definitely want to dig into that. I made a little list, like a bullet point list of like things we could talk about, and exercise was on that list. So, I don't even know how to get into this without kind of telling what I'm doing now and why I'm still doing it. I've heard a lot of people in the background getting discouraged in a similar way to you, and a lot of it has to do with weight. And I am, I'm on that list too, although I haven't changed my diet. So I haven't become so discouraged that I've gone back to fat or pizza or ice cream or, any of those things that I used to eat. But when we first met, well, it's been about 2 years ago.
Right.
I was doing a lot of exercise, and you were in on one of those challenges with me, the squat challenge that we did together and things like that. And I was sprinting and doing all this stuff, but my weight was where I wanted it. So 2 summers ago was the first time in my life since being a little kid that I could like wear a bathing suit at the pool and feel totally fine. Like I'm fine to be here in a bathing suit. All good. And then I don't know why, other than I'm not really sure why, other than when I first went keto and lost that 20 pounds 2 years ago, or a little more than 2 years ago. I was still tracking and keeping my calories at a certain number. And that number was, I don't know, about 12 to 1300 a day.
Okay.
And I did lose the weight doing that. And I felt, very good. And because I was feeling good, I think is why I'm like, I have had all this energy. Let me sprint. Let me do all this stuff. Because I heard Dr. Sean O'Mara and, this is, it started off with Dr. Barry, change your diet. Oh, now Dr. O'Mara says sprint. And so there I am doing all this stuff and feeling good. And then, when I started, there's all these influencers out there, and I had basically binged and restricted my whole life. And I was so sick of counting things and restricting things that I just went to, I'm gonna eat carnivore and I'm just going to eat it. And I don't know if that's why, if, my body, I know for sure my metabolism was all screwed up because I was severely restricting since my mid-teens, early to mid-teens. We're talking 800-900 calories or sometimes less for multiple days and days and days and days and weeks and months on end.
That's crazy.
I've weighed way less than I weigh now. As an adult in my 30s, I got down to like 112 pounds.
Whoa.
And I'm 5'6".
Yeah, right.
So, because just from starving myself and being dizzy and hungry and miserable, but like gotta be thin, so that was miserable. And so I just got to like, let me just eat carnivore. And I put the 20 pounds back on over the next few months. And that's discouraging.
It is.
On the one hand, I feel very good mentally.
Right.
Just eating the meat. Right. But then my weight went up. Now, who knows why that is? I don't know why that is. Is it because I'm just eating too much mass? Is it because, who knows? I don't know. But because I'm eating when I'm hungry, but that part feels good, like not counting. So it's like this balance, right? Of what does the scale say versus what is my mental health going to be like? So in my discouragement, you went off the wagon, and we did a live stream about this. In my discouragement, I went off of the exercise wagon for sure.
Oh, no.
Like if I'm going to be 20 pounds heavier, then I'm not going to sprint.
What's the point?
I'm just sad. Yeah, what's the point? Kind of like how you felt. If I'm going to not lose weight, what's the point? Let me just go eat a pizza.
Yeah.
So for me, my diet has stayed the same, but it's like, what's the point? Like I was doing all that exercise, but like, what's the point? Because here's the scale going up. Now, that's bad news. I don't even know if it's bad news. Maybe my body is healing. I don't know. But I will say, it crept up. My weight crept up to about 145.
Oh.
And I had to purchase some bigger pants, and that was sad. But now it's gone back down. I'm now back under 140. I'm about 138. And I'm just kind of sitting there. And I didn't do anything. I didn't track. I didn't do anything different. I didn't quit dairy. I didn't, like all those things that we hear. I'm over here just doing my thing, eating my carnivore food that I enjoy. But yeah, the exercise has fallen by the wayside. I'm happy to be back. I don't have to wear those bigger pants because I lost that, 6 or 8 pounds or whatever.
That's good.
But yeah, I would like to be more like 125. That's where I'd like to be. And I'm sitting here at 138. And it's like, do I want to try? No, I don't. I don't want to track.
You shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to.
Yeah. I'm kind of on that bandwagon right now because I did that for so many years. And I just don't want to. It's like, like which way do I want to be? I don't want to be that, I don't want to put that much mental bandwidth into what I'm eating. Right.
When I left Iowa, I left the scale behind. I didn't bring it. I don't use the scale anymore.
Wow.
I'm just going to go by how I feel and how my clothes fit. And a tiny bit of progress. since I joined the gym a week and a half ago, I missed yesterday, but I've been walking every morning for a half hour on the treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I've started. So
Mm-hmm.
I've got to ease into it, but slow and steady wins the race, I think. So.
Yeah, I got a walking pad. I asked for one. I don't use it all the time. But when I'm not teaching, on days when I'm not teaching, those are like on the weekends, I have plenty of energy to get on there and walk for 30 minutes. If I don't do it in the morning on days when I'm teaching, it's not happening because I come home in the afternoon and 30 11-year-olds in one room with no aid ever. Like that's exhausting. It's exhausting.
Yes.
Even with carnivore, even with all the energy I get, I have much more energy than I had. But for real, it's exhausting.
That's what I was going to ask you. Are you under stress? Are you getting enough sleep?
Yeah.
I saw a video. I was watching it about an hour ago. Dr. Bickman. I love Dr. Bickman. He's so great. And it was a 10-minute video that he pulled out of one of his longer videos, I guess. And it was basically a study. If you are sleep deprived, your cortisol goes up and it stays up. And that is bad for weight loss and actually can be conducive to weight gain. And it can be the worst kind of weight gain. It's that, that belly fat that you were sprinting to get rid of.
Right.
So, I mean,
so this is what's funny. I'm currently on spring break as of yesterday. So yesterday we had that Friday off, Good Friday, and then we have all next week. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So when I'm teaching, this is what happens. I go to bed out of exhaustion at 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
and I sleep and I might wake up. I used to wake up before carnivore. I would wake up multiple times a night. Like I would sleep for maybe 3 hours and then I'd wake up like every hour. And now I might wake up once. So I'm not like sleeping through the night, but I'll wake up once instead of waking up 8 times or whatever.
That's not bad. That's kind of normal, I think.
Yeah. So it's much better. But at like 3:30 in the morning, like I'm awake, but I've gone to bed at 8, right? So but at 3:30 in the morning, I'm awake, and it's not I am a morning person, but 3:30 is, that's the nighttime still. But
that's still 7.5 hours. That's good.
It is. But I wake up like thinking about my class, thinking about what I've got to do, thinking about what dumb thing someone's going to say to me, because it's going to happen, whether it's a student, a parent, a principal, someone's going to say something real dumb.
Great.
And I'm going to get texts I'm for sure going to get texts from my team members, which include why they're already stressed out or an Instagram meme about teacher stress. And so it's all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm off yesterday. So yesterday that felt normal. Today we have this live stream. It's starting at 7 a.m. my time. Okay. Right. So I set my alarm for 5:15. My normal alarm would be 5, but I never sleep to it. Like I said, 3:30. Today, 5:15 rolled around and my alarm went off. And that woke me up. And I was like, whoa.
Why?
Yeah. And I was like, because I get to talk to my friend Mike. So it was fine. But that never happens. But it's like the stress of teaching was gone for a day.
Right.
And then it was like, oh, I can sleep.
Yep. That's part of the Dr. Bickman in a different video was talking about how your cortisol will go down immediately if you get enough sleep. Like the next day, your cortisol will act normally again. So, I mean, it can really right itself in a hurry. It's something I struggle with too, is, I usually get about 6 hours. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's enough or not. I get kind of sleepy after my late morning first meal. I usually will get a little sleepy after that. And sometimes, or even when I eat around 5:30, sometimes that'll lead to a nap. So, I'm probably, cortisol was really high for me a couple of years ago, I think, just because my finances were super tight, and that's very stressful. Thankfully, with this new job, that's resolved itself. So God is good all the time, so I don't have that kind of stress anymore, which is good. So, but I think that might have been affecting me, and maybe it's affecting you too.
Yeah, it could very well be. We'll see what happens this summer vacation. It didn't really alleviate last summer break. I mean, we get 2 months off at that time. So I'm going to try because June 6th is our last day of school. And then I have 2 solid months off. So at that time, I feel like maybe I can take some of that advice and, take that on. But it's almost like out of my control when I'm teaching the day-to-day stress. So we have a lot of awesome people watching. So I just wanted to put up some of their comments. Poor Simpson says she only knew 2 Iowa carnivores and Greg moved last fall. Now you've left me, sigh. I feel so lonely. Oh, hi, Cristie. Hi, Simpson. In Southern California, there's not a lot of carnivores either. None that I know personally. There's a couple. But yeah, I get my carnivore community definitely online, not in real life.
Right. I had to, Simpson. This job it was an offer I couldn't refuse. I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm working for the city of Van Alstyne, and I'm their marketing and media manager, and I do videos. So my TV experience, I used to be a feature reporter on top of other things, and I'm just doing feature stories on what's going on in the town. It's perfect for me. And then, my grandson's here and my kids are nearby. I mean, it's just like, it's kind of perfect.
Yeah, that's like right up your alley. I'm so happy for you. That's fantastic. Yeah. Dee is here saying hi there. Hi, Dee. Nice to see you. And hey, look who popped in. Ellie. My fellow lioness over here, saying hi, friends. And then a few comments later, she put this up. Cristie, good news. I'm ready to get back to carnivore or ketovore. I have a game plan to manage and hopefully reduce my lipedema. Finally feeling normal again. Good for you, Ellie. If you don't know what's going on with Ellie, check out her socials, Nourishment Redacted. Talk about stress, Mike. She's had a few things, but so yeah, if you want to know about that. But I'm happy to hear that, Ellie, and glad to see that you're feeling normal again for sure.
That's great. Life's hard sometimes. Just is.
Yes. And then look who else is here. Hi, Renee. Renee, one of my favorites to see in the chat. And Jay is here. Jay is always so supportive. Jay. Hi, Jay. I put out a video and I mean, he comments like a little triple happy face every time. Makes my day. So very nice to see you, Jay. And yes, Ellie, life is hard. Life is hard. I agree. Sometimes it is. Yeah, so exercise we were talking about. So yeah, I have my walking pad. I need to just be faithful to get on that. And also I get outside, but then I'll go for days without doing that. Like getting outside and standing on my patch of grass, getting the sun in my eyes. And I just had Zach, my youngest son, who's also eating carnivore with me at the eye doctor. And his eyes haven't changed, which is good. I'm hoping now that he's carnivore because he barely needs glasses. But he was like getting some headaches and I thought, well, maybe his prescription has changed. And so I took him to the eye doctor because it had been a year and a half since I took him. And his prescription hadn't changed, but the eye doctor was telling him, if you never get outside, your eyes don't ever relax. Like they're always like they never relax because that far distance, the getting outside, all that stuff. So I told him, I'm like, you could borrow my patch of grass. He looked at me like I was nuts.
Yeah, just and gaze at the San Gabriels and life is good.
Yes. So I feel like, yeah, those habits that I know are good for me are super hard to maintain, on a daily basis for sure.
No kidding. Did you guys feel that earthquake? The one in San Diego?
Boy, howdy.
Or outside of San Diego?
Where I live, so I'm pretty far north of San Diego, but it was during the school day. If you don't know, San Diego had a pretty big earthquake. What was it, a 5.2, I think?
5.2, yeah.
Originally, they said it was a 6.7 when it first came in through my phone. I was like, dang. And then when I saw the epicenter, it was like on my mom's house, like under my mom's house was the epicenter,
wow.
Pretty much.
What was she doing? Was she on her mini trampoline or something?
No, she was not. But when I saw where it was, well, there was a few weird things, but when I saw where it was, I texted her and she was currently inspecting her house for cracks. Yes. So it definitely felt strong up there. And she did have a shelf fall and a bunch of dishes that were on that shelf break. And it was in her like a china cabinet where she has all of her grandmother's dishes, but like all the grandmother's dishes were on the top 2 shelves and those shelves didn't break. So the really old dishes survived, but the bottom shelf, I don't exactly know what was on there, but yeah, the whole shelf broke. Everything fell and a few things did break, but nothing that the really sentimental stuff to her was fine. So that was the only damage that she found. Very strong down there. But the crazy thing was, as soon as the shaking started, the alerts went out on the phone. And I don't know that we've ever had an earthquake alert on the phone, but because I'm so far north, I'm not kidding. My phone went off. And then a half a second to a second later, the shaking started. I was like,
crazy?
What?
Yeah. That's
crazy.
cool.
Crazy.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then all the kids were like, they froze, fight, flight, or freeze. They froze, but it wasn't really enough shaking that they even knew that it was an earthquake.
Okay.
I, with a little more life experience, went, well, that's an earthquake, but the shaking has stopped. So line up, because you're supposed to duck and cover. If you don't live in Cali, here's what it is. You duck and cover. When the shaking stops, then you evacuate. So the shaking had already stopped. So I was lining them up to evacuate.
Yeah.
The principal came on and said, duck and cover. And I was like, okay, kids, we're going to stand here because it's not shaking, but because we're going to evacuate. I said, but if the shaking starts again, we'll get back under the desks. Then we evacuated. We stood out in the field. We were outstanding in our field.
Yes.
For about 20 minutes. And then only Bugsy Mike gets it. Mike laughs. I say those jokes in my classroom and my kids look at me like I'm what? But yeah, so we were standing out there for about 20 minutes just because they took the opportunity to do a full sweep, like you would in a real, it was a real earthquake, but it wasn't
it wasn't
very big where we were.
Right.
Wasn't very big. So yeah, so they did a sweep of the school, did all the stuff where you're supposed to go out and turn off. They didn't actually turn off the gas, but there's people in charge of, I'm going to this person turns off the gas. Like I'm on the reunification team. Reunifying, a kiddo with a family member who, if we have to send the kids home, for example. So it happened. It was during the school day, but it was very minor. We went and got back to business. But yeah, some of my family members, because I do have family members in San Diego County, and it was in East County, which is where they live, and I had a little bit of damage. So
out there in the desert.
That's how we roll out here.
No doubt.
So Cristie is asking, Mike, what is the goal or plan for the gym?
Yeah, great question. Because, and Tracy's kind of an inspiration in this too, because he lifts, and he told me, he goes, I think he had a Bowflex, isn't that right, cuz? And he said just stick with it. He goes, he's really strong. And so that's one of my goals. Right now I'm just walking. I'm just getting in the habit of going at 6 a.m. That's, and then what I'd like to do is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, to do some weights, so nothing too crazy. I've been watching a lot of videos, of course. And, one of the things that I've heard that I like is you don't have to be in the gym for an hour and a half. You could just do like 3 sets, like say bicep curls, and just do them to failure. And, same with maybe some weighted squats or leg press is what I like. And just do, some of these exercises to failure, and then give your body a day to rest. And, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, if I get really good, maybe one day it'll be arms and back, and then one day it'll be legs, and then, give my muscle groups more chance to rest. So I'm not an expert on it, but, I was an athlete in high school. I've done a little bit of weight stuff 100 years ago. So, I just want to get stronger. I think that's going to be very helpful. One of the struggles I'm having right now, and it's a little frustrating, when I was last time I had a Keto Mojo and I was on carnivore, I'd wake up, my blood sugar, my glucose would be like 82 or something, really good. I can't get below 100 very rarely. I'm like, this morning I was 105. And I'm just hanging out between 102 and 109. And it just doesn't seem to budge, even though, my diet's been fairly dialed in. Now I did have some cheat days. A couple weeks ago, we had cake at the office, and so I had a sandwich and some cake, and so, and then I had a few beers the other night. That's probably not the best. So, I need to quit doing that too, probably would be helpful. But so I'm borderline pre-diabetic, and that's not good. It's not good. I have to make a change. I'm not getting any younger.
I'm not an expert either. And some of these things and some of the stuff I wanted to talk to you about is all the different things you hear too from the different influencers. But I think for someone like you, like the cheat days, it just basically resets everything almost when you have those, especially because you clearly have some metabolic dysfunction going on there. But what I need to do, I think, is take my keto, because I have a keto mojo and then I don't use it. I'm a baby, you guys. I don't like the finger pricking. I don't. But both times I had my morning glucose when I did my blood work. Yeah, see?
You ready? Put your finger out.
No. No.
All right.
I don't like it. But anyway, when I had the morning blood sugar checked when I did my blood work, which I haven't had any blood work recently, but a couple times. Yeah, mine was a little over 100 too, but I wonder if it was like the cortisol spike in the morning, because it was legit like 5 a.m. Like I'd get up, get over there.
I wait an hour or two usually.
Yes.
So then it's after my carnivore coffee, which helps my ketones. So my ketones are a little higher. So,
Yeah. Okay, wait, is that an oxymoron? Because I too have my carnivore coffee. When you say carnivore coffee, Mike, what do you exactly mean?
Well, here's what I put in mine.
Okay.
And I'd love to see Tracy's comment on this if he's familiar. So I started doing creatine in my coffee. So I do five whatever it is, milligrams or whatever it is, and I do 2 cups. So I do 5 in each. So I'm doing 10 milligrams of creatine. I also put a small squirt of MCT oil, a slice of butter, nice little pat of butter in there, and some heavy cream. So it's a lot. It's
butter
good.
And heavy cream.
Yeah, it's good. I like it.
So the only thing I put in my coffee is heavy cream. And I'll tell you, maybe there are people that would say like it's that little bit of dairy that you're doing that's causing your weight or issues or whatever. And maybe so, but I will tell you this, when I do the heavy cream in the coffee, I can do like a little splash and be fine. If I have more dairy than that, I can maybe do a little cheese once or twice a week, which I don't even do it that often. If I have more dairy than that, I know for sure my skin will break out.
Oh, wow.
So I made that sausage soup for the recipe relay. If you haven't seen the recipe relay, we're 3 legs in. Oh, today is Saturday, so the 4th leg should be coming out today. Cool. So I started it, and then I kicked it over to Robin, Carnivorous Grandma Robin, who kicked it to Nia at Nia's Way, who kicked it to Jenny Middich. So I'm not sure if Jenny's video is out today. If it's not out, it's for sure coming out today. Yeah. And this time we focused on an ingredient. And so instead of doing a recipe and then adding an ingredient each person, we said, you have to make a recipe using this carnivore ingredient. And the ingredient was breakfast sausage. And I was curious about making some sausage soup, which I did. It was delicious, like really, really good, but it was a lot of dairy in that soup. So the soup base had, of course, bone broth. But then it was like some sour cream, some cream cheese, some Parmesan cheese.
Wow,
just some heavy cream.
Sounds delicious, though.
Oh, it's so good. It was. Wow. Zach didn't like it, you guys. Yeah. But so, which is why I was eating it. And I mean, within a day or two, my skin, I still have one, like right here. So I got 2 pimples here and here, and this one's kind of still there. And it's. I know it's that dairy. If I eat an ounce of cheese here or there, my heavy cream in my coffee every day, that doesn't happen to me anymore. But if I eat carnivore sausage soup with a heavily dairy based broth in there, so who knows how else it might be affecting me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's why N=1, right? We experiment and see what works for us individually. I've never had any problems with dairy that I know of. I haven't noticed anything. Now the creatine kind of messes my stomach up a little bit. I don't know if I need to dial the dose down or if that's something you get used to. But yeah, so that's, but I feel the difference. Just, you know, it makes your muscles swell, and supposedly you can do more work with the creatine. And I've seen a lot of videos where the creatine will actually move through the what is it? The brain blood barrier.
Blood-brain barrier.
Yeah, blood brain barrier. And so your brain loves creatine. And so I haven't noticed a difference in mental sharpness or anything. I'm just as dumb as usual, but I'm still searching for words still, like I do sometimes. But yeah, supposedly there's benefits there, so I'm trying it out. Yeah, so yeah, dairy is fine with me, I think. But I've always had, like, my forehead's actually better than it's been in quite a while. So my forehead kind of gets bumpy and breaks out a little bit, and I don't know what that is, rosacea or something.
Interesting.
And it comes and goes. So I'll have flare-ups, you know.
So no matter what the diet, like even when you were, before you started all of this?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. You know, I thought it got better on carnivore, but I had a friend go, no, it hasn't. Like, oh, well,
like, I see it.
The kind of friend you want. Who's going to be
know,
honest
that
with you.
it's like my little 30 kiddos in my classroom. I mean, who needs that?
Right.
With friends like that, Mike?
Yeah, you know.
Those kiddos notice everything, and I'll definitely hear about it. Okay, this I like. Solar Dare is asking a question and a comment, and it kind of ties into something that I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to put it up here. They are saying, hey guys, I need some advice. Feeling that this way of eating is the proper way, but stress has gotten a lot worse since starting. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I want to do it properly. Not sure it has. And then it has, here's the second part, also gotten to the point where I'm worried about adding anything back, whether it be good veggies, spices, etc., without feeling like I'm doing something wrong or erasing any healing. Any advice? So Solar Dare, this is also something that I have been, I don't know if struggling is the right word, but struggling with lately. I'm not a quote unquote perfect carnivore because, hey, I still have coffee, and coffee comes from a plant, right? So is someone going to come take my carnivore card? I don't know. The other day I buy these pickle chips that are fermented. And see, I feel like I'm even having to justify now, you know, because some carnivores will do a little fermented foods.
Yeah.
When I have my burger patties, I have some of these fermented pickle chips. And some people in the carnivore space would call that crap. I'm not going to eat that crap. Like, I've heard people legitimately online, you know, making statements like that. And avocado is the other thing I will do, even more rarely than the pickle chips. Yeah. Sometimes, Solar Dare, I will buy that avocado and I legitimately won't want it. Like, I'll buy it, it's on the counter, I won't want it, I'll throw it away. Sometimes I buy it, it's on the counter, and I can hear those influencers in my head saying, I'm not going to eat that crap. And so even if I want it, I don't eat it because I hear that in my head. So I have definitely struggled with stuff like this. And then sometimes I go, whatever, I'm going to eat the avocado, you know? And so maybe once every couple of months I have an avocado, but when I eat it, I hear that thing didn't ripen on the tree. You know, that thing didn't ripen on the tree. The chemical defense compounds are still in that avocado because it didn't ripen on the tree. Like, I'm hearing that in my head, which it's true. I'm sure it's true.
I don't know about that.
But is one avocado, I mean, I don't notice any negative effects from that one avocado.
Yeah.
I tend to do it when I go out. So if I go out, sometimes I'll have some guacamole or some avocado, you know, with what I'm having. And I don't go out very often, but going out is another thing. Well, there might be some seed oils in that thing that I ate at that restaurant. And there's people that say, well, you should just never eat out. And I'm like, but like, my brother invited me out to dinner tonight. He lives, you know, an hour and a half away from me. We don't see each other all the time. But he's coming up this way for his son's baseball game. And he's like, hey, you want to meet up for dinner? And I was like, yeah, just anywhere I can get burger patties.
Yeah.
So might there be something in those? Maybe. But guess what? The time that I'm going to spend with my brother, who did live in Virginia, so totally on the other side of the country for 10 years. And I saw once, you know, or twice, just a few times when he was gone. You know, the time that I'm going to spend with my brother and nephew. And could I go and not eat? Yes. Am I going to do that? No. I'm going to eat those burger patties, you know. I'm sure there's somebody out there in the carnivore influencer space that would tell me that I should not be doing that, that I should just sit there with my water and whatever. And I could, I could do that, but I'm just not gonna. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get burger patties, and I'm gonna take my son with me, and I'm gonna let him eat those burger patties too.
Well, the carnivore cops are annoying. I'm just going to say it. I don't care what they say. I don't listen to them. Now, what I do listen to people's stories, what works for them, what doesn't work for them. Sometimes it gives me ideas of what I might want to try and maybe what I might want to eliminate. But you have to eat the way that makes you feel good and that gives you your best results. So, if you want to add in veggies or spices or whatever it is, and it works for you, good for you. It's like, my thing is, I'm not going to tell you how to eat. I'm, imperfect enough in the way I want to eat, even my own standards. Sometimes I can't stick with those. So I don't get on anyone else for the way they eat, even vegans, even, whatever, paleos, whatever it is, if it's working for them, more power to them. Because I don't want the government or anyone else telling me I can't eat meat. And there was certainly, and probably still is, a movement to do just that. So, that's a slippery slope, and I don't think it should be, I don't think anyone should be telling people what they can and can't eat. Now, some of the things that the government's doing right now, if you're on government assistance and you're spending that on soft drinks, I can see that policy just because, it's government assistance. But if it's your own money and your own hard work, buy what you want and do what you want. But, we're, especially in this space, we do encourage each other, and we all want to get better and heal. A lot of us from metabolic problems from eating the standard American way. And, some of us have further to go than others, and some of us respond to different things than others because we're all different. So do you try stuff, see what works, and good luck. Yeah.
Yeah. Find somebody too that, there's plenty of influencers, low carb, all the way to keto, all the way to carnivore, all the way to lion diet. Like there's plenty of influencers in all of those spaces. Right.
Yep.
And I eat a particular way, but I'm also not dogmatic. So I think anyone, like what you said, this is the proper way to be eating. I agree with that. But if someone wants to have some spices, like if I'm making a piece of meat for me, it's just going to have salt. If I'm making it for my son, I put some Redmond organic. It's like organic, but it's like has garlic and onion powder and all this stuff in there. It's like their seasoned salt. Yeah. And if I'm making him a chuck roast, I put that in there for him because you know what? He's gonna eat that. And it's a heck of a lot better than his old, highly processed chicken nuggets or mac and cheese or any of that stuff. I have no worries. And also because he started at 15. He's now 16. I have no problem, giving that to him. And sometimes I might eat some of that. Like if I make it for him, a lot of the times he eats all of it, but sometimes that's my meal too. And I'm going to eat that too. And I don't feel bad that I ate that garlic powder or whatever. Like I just don't. But also I'm not having digestive problems from it or whatever some people might have. Some people eat that stuff and if they have eczema, their eczema flares up. Let's just say, because I know a lot of people that are carnivore and they eat this spice or that spice and their eczema will flare up like that. I don't have any of that kind of stuff. I'm not getting any negative signals at all from that. So I don't feel bad. Now I just like the salt or smoked salt. I go salt or smoked salt if I'm making it just for me.
Yeah.
But like I said, for him, and I don't have a problem. Or if I go to someone's house, like my in-laws, they know that my son Zach and I are carnivores, and she'll make us a tri-tip, and I don't know what seasoning she puts on there. It's a lot of it. I think she even rubs olive oil on it. I eat that tri-tip and I don't feel bad about it. It's delicious. I give her compliments. Hey, thank you so much, because she is doing that to like support us. There's other times like we're going over there on Easter and she said she's making a turkey. Well, neither one of my sons like turkey. So I'll be bringing a picanha. Just because they don't enjoy turkey at all. So, so not because I don't want them eating the turkey, because, oh my gosh, turkey's not a ruminant meat. They just, neither one of my sons will eat turkey, but they will eat picanha. So I'm going to bring that. And she's very excited about that I'm bringing that. So
Yeah.
I just think, you know, whatever is going to work for you. But I too, I see where you're coming from on that comment, because I too sometimes feel, I don't know, pressure to be more strict than I am.
Right.
As I listen to the way that, you know, some people talk about it. I don't look down on if anyone wants to be lion or super strict or take out all the salt. Like, I know people that have done that. They don't even eat salt anymore. If that's better for you, I mean, like, good for them, you know, great, do that. But yeah, people telling you or trying to feel guilty, making you feel guilty, or, you know, you take that on board, like you're going to feel guilty. Eat what works for you. If it's not causing you problems.
Right.
I think the most thing is taking out the sugar, the carbs, all that stuff that's going to make you metabolically sick.
Right. And I think that's kind of where I'm coming from, is like, I am metabolically sick, right? If I'm on the, you know, barely cross the line of pre-diabetic, that's a little scary to me. So I've had to take some action, and the right action is, you know, cut the carbs, because we know that works for diabetes and pre-diabetes. When I was more metabolically healthy, this was back in, I don't know, 2017 or something, 9 years ago. You know, I was doing a radio show in Tucson, News Talk Radio. Love that show. It was so fun. But anyway, we had a sponsor, Tucson Medical Weight Loss. And it was, you know, the 850 calorie diet for, it's supposed to be 3 months. I think I made it a month. But I lost like 25 pounds. And then I transitioned from that into, and you know, when you're eating that low calorie, you're losing muscle weight. But I started working out right after that. And I had I'd never heard of keto or carnivore or anything like that. And so the workouts I was doing was a circuit workout. It was really like hard for 30 minutes, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, as fast as you can on whatever the different exercises were, strength and cardio. And so, and the first time I went, I almost died. They gave me a glucose pill at the end. You all right, man? I was there for like 20 minutes recovering before I left. But after about a couple weeks, I got in shape enough. I was starting to kill it. And so I would eat a smoothie before the workout. So yogurt, blueberries, some whey protein, I don't know, honey or peanut butter or something. And so I'd have that before the workout. Every day I would have a big salad with some sardines on top. And then one of my other main meals was I would cook a bunch of rice, and I would take a can of salmon and dump that in there, and then mix it all up with some picante sauce. Most people think that sounds gross, but I liked it. So a lot of protein, but also a lot of rice, you know, and that's what I ate. And I lost 15 more pounds. And I entered a 5K. I didn't run the whole thing, but I ran it. I was really that's probably the best shape I've been since. So that's the last time I've been in that good a shape. It was the owner of that club that introduced me to keto. And then, which eventually led to carnivore. But I did keto so badly that, again, I got discouraged and ordered a pizza and had a blizzard and put the weight back on. But then I went back to keto, learned more, tracked better, and then went to carnivore eventually because there's no tracking, and had quite a bit of success. When in 2019, I lost, I don't know how much because I didn't have a scale, probably 40 pounds or more. I was eating a steak a day. I would have a ribeye at lunch. That was it. And I did that for, I don't know how long, 3 months, 4 months, whatever. Lost 40 pounds, 40, 50 pounds, whatever it was. And it was great. My sleep wasn't great all the time through that. So I never did quite solve that. So, you know, I've done this quite a few times. And that's why this time it's like, stop with the yo-yo. I got to stick with it, because yo-yo dieting in some ways is worse for you than not dieting at all. So.
Yeah, I can attest to that because I've lost 20 pounds. I don't even know how many times. I can't even count how many times I've gained and lost, 20 pounds.
Yep.
I think I'm sticking to this because I'm like, will my body heal enough to be that weight that, that I would like to be, that 125, where I feel good, I think I look good, I'm not too thin, blah, blah, blah. Like all those things. Will my body do that without having to restrict and track and, starve myself and all of that? And so I'm sticking to it. And I think part of it is, so like, for example, before I knew that all that stuff you put on your skin is bad for you, like I stopped wearing makeup like 5 years ago. I would not leave my house without makeup. And I think it's my age, right? I'm 49. I'm turning 50 this year in a few months. And
happy birthday.
Thank you. I mean, it's a few months still, but
and still, that's a big one though. The big 5-0
for a few more months. Yeah, the big 5-0, right?
The big 5-0.
As I've gotten older, like when I was in my 30s, no way would I leave the house, even to go to just the grocery store and not have makeup on. Like that would not have happened. And then it was more like, at least when I go to work, because it's like professional, like you put on your, and you put on your face and you whatever. And now since they sent us home to teach online in 2020, I stopped wearing makeup then, and I never picked it back up. And I think it's the age I'm at where I've stopped caring about that kind of stuff quite so much. Like I came on here with completely wet hair out of the shower because I took a shower and I'm going to go online with wet hair and be on the YouTube in front of everybody.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
So it's like, that 20 pounds is there, but it's like I, at my age now, am able to say, okay, it's there, but like my mental health is so much better. All of these things are better. Sometimes I get that voice, kind of like what we were talking about too, not just about being a perfect carnivore, but also about everyone knows I'm a carnivore. Like everyone knows. So am I representing? So I'm, I could stand to lose a couple pounds still. Am I being the best representative? Like I feel stressed about that. Like, am I being the best representative out there? But I will say, here's a clue that maybe maybe I am, because a coworker on Thursday said to me, it came in my classroom and said to me, can I ask you a meat question?
Hey, that's great. That's great. You're a keto evangelist. Does someone have that name yet? Keto evangelist, yes. They probably do. Someone.
And so, I mean, I thought that was fantastic. It's not like I'm a meat expert. It turned out to be a beef jerky question, and I feel like I was able to answer it because they were like, I used to eat a lot of beef jerky, but I don't think beef jerky is that good for me. And then they brought me some beef jerky and said, what do you think about this beef jerky? And so I did a little label reading lesson with that person.
Right.
But it was like, and it was less than 1 carb. So I was like, is it perfect? No, because it's not just meat and salt or whatever. However, like I would eat this in a pinch, or if I had a craving for some beef jerky or whatever. They're like, so basically if it says less than 1 carb, I'm like, basically, yes. If it says less than 1 carb, you just don't want to go and find all the ones that are totally full of sugar and whatever. But clearly I am doing a pretty good job representing a meat-based lifestyle, a low carb, because that coworker knew that came to me to ask me a meat question, which
Cristie will know. Yeah. And you did.
Cristie will know.
And
I did know. And I was able to say, look, you do what you feel like doing. But for me, I would eat that piece of beef jerky.
Right. So
the amount of whatever other stuff is so low that the carbs are less than 1.
So responding to some of the things you said. So if I gave up makeup around 2002. That's when I left TV. So
yep. They slathered it on you for TV.
I used to wear makeup. It was pretty. I did stand-up comedy a couple weeks ago at the local bar. They had open mic night. And that was one of my jokes. I had a couple of jokes about the makeup and stuff. But so anyway, enough about that. Well, I did want to say this. Most women, my opinion, look better without makeup or minimal makeup. So it's like, lose that stuff. The natural look is in, please. Just my opinion, but I and if you're married or you have a boyfriend or, that sort of thing, then do what they like. I get it. But, that's just, I think a lot of guys like the natural look. So don't stress out over putting your face on all the time. Yeah. So I forgot what else you talked about. I need more creatine, apparently.
I talked about a lot of things. So, but to your point, what you
Yeah.
said, my husband did not have a comment one way or the other. So it's not like I
Okay.
stopped wearing makeup and then he was like, why aren't you wearing makeup? Like he
Right.
doesn't
Right. Yeah.
say that stuff anymore at all, at all. And the one thing I think I wish is that I used to wear contacts. And then I stopped wearing them because, they bother my eyes. And I wish that at least if we go out, I could like put in some contacts. Cause I just like, if I wear a dress and then wear glasses for some reason, I still have a thing about that.
Well,
It
I don't
doesn't
know
feel like
why.
I was dressed
Okay.
up or something. I don't know. But yeah, the contacts, they bother my eyes.
Yeah.
I don't do them.
Yeah, I just feel really lucky there. I've never had to have glasses or any kind of corrective, I have some readers around here somewhere, but I just refuse to wear them.
Mhm.
I hear that you get used to them and then your eyes then you kind of rely
Mm.
on them. So I'm holding off as long as I can. But I just, and it kind of runs in my family. I don't know if you have this, Tracy, or not, but my dad had this and still does amazingly, even with type 2 diabetes. His vision is really good.
Mm.
And growing up, he and I used to have contests on who could read the smallest thing from farthest away. I had 20/10 vision back then.
Mhm, mhm.
And my dad's brother, Uncle Archie, was a fighter pilot in Korea. So also with the really good vision. Tracy's mom, Aunt Laura V, excellent eyesight, but also macular degeneration runs in our family too. So really important for us to avoid the seed oils because I know that they didn't know it, but Mama had macular degeneration in her later years. I think Aunt Laura V's vision got really bad, and we know now, or at least correlation, not necessarily causation, but it seems pretty clear that countries that introduce seed oils, their macular degeneration goes from next to nothing to a problem.
Yeah.
And I've heard, and I can't remember the source, otherwise I would name it, but macular degeneration, you inherit the genes for it, but
Mhm.
it's the seed oils or the bad diet that turns the gene on. And so, that's something else I have to be wary of because, I'm 62 years old and I can still see far away and great, but I want to make sure I keep that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So on my family, my dad's mom my grandma had macular degeneration. And
Mhm.
so I've often that's one of the things I learned about after going on this way of eating. Same thing. Dr. Lisa Wiedemann is an eye doctor. And if you look her up,
Yes.
Carnivore Doctor, and look up
Carnivore
her
doctor.
videos
She's
on
great.
that, absolutely check it out because I'm thinking that, I'm hoping now that I've been eating this way for 2 years that I'm hopefully going to avoid that. My dad never got it, but he did have glaucoma, but he had a lot of problems. His name was Archie, Mike Shaw. So you talk about Uncle Archie.
Yay.
My
Uncle
dad's name was
Archie.
Archie. My dad's name was Archie.
Nice.
But yeah, so glaucoma, type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, like all of these things. And I'm hoping to avoid that. But his vision was very good, like what you're saying. It's my mom's side with the poor vision. So I've had pretty strong glasses since high school. Somebody, and they're for distance, not for close.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me, have your eyes improved since going carnivore? And the answer is no, but they have not gotten worse.
Right.
So they're just kind of holding steady. So in a sense, for me, that's improvement because
Sure.
they've just kind of consistently gone downhill to where now if I take off my glasses, the world's just a blurry, like I can't see and I couldn't function without them.
Right.
I, to this point, have not. So my eye doctor keeps trying, Mike, to get me to go to the like transition or not transitions, but the where you can not bifocals, but the ones without the line in there, whatever. He wants me to go to those because I have a little bit of trouble with my close vision.
Yeah.
But I just refuse to do it. I'm like, I said, leave me alone, doc, just leave me alone. And so he doesn't do it, but he showed me with his, you put out when you go to the eye doctor and they have the big thing and he's like, but look, isn't that better? I'm like, okay, yes, it's better, but leave me alone.
That's right. My arm's still long enough,
Yeah.
It's like, when you're out to dinner, it's like, can you hold the menu for me so I can read it?
Yeah. So
across
I
the
have
table.
so mine is not bad enough yet, but my husband's are, and he's gonna get those added to his prescription next month when he goes in because he just can't do it. But I'll have to read it for him. I mean, mine isn't perfect, but if I shine a bright light on it, I'm like, okay, I can read it. He can't, so I'm like, I'll read the menu for him and
That's
stuff like
cool.
that.
So it's interesting too. You said that, your eyes aren't getting worse, which is a win. And it is, because how many people do we all know that wear glasses that have to get their prescription updated from time to time? And for me, when I'm not eating carnivore or ketovore in my case, then my eyes will be a little bit blurrier, like especially in the morning. It takes a little time to sharpen up. I mean, I don't think it would change an eye test maybe, but I notice the difference when I'm eating, clean ketovore and probably even better a carnivore. Things sharpen up a little bit, and certainly the floaters go away, which is cool. Because I didn't even think about it. One of the first times I was on carnivore and the floaters went away, and I didn't even think about it till someone mentioned that their floaters had gone away, and then I tried to find mine.
You're like, oh, I don't have any floaters.
I mean, there were a few, but it wasn't like before. So it's like, these weird benefits that happen because you're eating the most nutrient dense bioavailable nutrients that come from ruminant animals. So yeah, whether you're having vegetables with that or not, you do want to make that kind of the centerpiece of your diet, unless for other reasons you've chosen vegan, and then that's your business. But I would recommend the meat.
Yeah, I was going to put up PSA's comment, and I will, but you talked about that. So I'm going to say something about that. So I was at a district training, and it was a science training. And so they, in some of these science trainings, we have to pretend to be the 5th grade students while they make us do whatever. Like
you role playing.
Yeah. And then here's what you're going to do. And so it was like looking up all this data, and it had to do with climate and things. I'm like, oh, here we go. They're about to blame the cows. Here we go. And so sure enough, one of these data things, we're on some website, and they're showing how it's the cattle, that are causing most of the emissions. And so of course I pushed back on that, district officer, no, here I go with my thing about but the cows can graze on the hilly terrain and you can't grow crops there. So all this stuff. And we used to have all these buffalo. And so we've changed one ruminant for the other. It's the same. Like, how is it magically a problem? I'm saying all this stuff, but the district office lady who's, she's technically my boss. Like, she's not my boss right here. That's my principal, but she's like, she's even a step above that at the district office. Comes over and goes, yeah, the boss is boss. And so she's like, I said what I said, like, well, I'm a carnivore, and she didn't know what to make of that. And I said, so here's what I know about, the cattle and the environment and whatever. Anyway, and then she just goes, well, I'm plant-based, and walked away. I was like, it's all making sense. It's all making sense.
Yes, it is. We're going to agree to disagree. Are you tenured? Is that a thing?
Oh, yeah.
Are you impossible to fire?
It would take 5 years for them to fire me. So the closer I get to retirement, I think I'm daring them, Mike Shaw. I'm daring them to start that process.
Bring it on.
Because So we still have unions in California, and I'm not necessarily always pro that, but the union here in my district, that's who negotiates for pay and things like that. And that's also who is there to protect the contract. Also, if you have a parent who decides to sue, which I did. I have a friend who was named in a lawsuit because the child was bullied. And it turns out that a lot of the evidence for that was false. Like, there was a video that they cut the beginning off of, for an example. And the lawyer, which we get through the union, was able to find the original video and be like,
discovery.
That's not what happened. First of all, no one should be videoing on a school campus. But second of all, this is the video in its entirety, which proved the opposite thing. So anyway, for those reasons, right? And so, yes, we still have unions, and here in California, it only takes 2 years for us to get what's called tenure. So I've been a tenure teacher for 23 years. This is my 25th year. I've been in the same district. Now, if I were to go to a new district, I would start over.
Yeah. Well, see, I think that's great for good teachers like you. Maybe not so great for some. I mean, there are some bad teachers, just like any profession.
Just like in any profession, 100%. I agree with you. Yep. Well, I wanted to put this comment up. So she's asking, Cristie, do you know of any carnivore or keto camp that I could send my kid to detox electronics, detox bad foods, and heal with peers?
Oh my gosh.
First of all, no, I don't. It does sound like a fantastic idea, though. Oh my gosh, the number of children that are addicted to their electronics, mine included, is horrendous. Yeah. And I think that sounds like a fantastic idea, but I do not know of any camps like that. I do know that I just interviewed recently Lash, and he's done a couple of other interviews. Mine didn't get a lot of views, I think, because I don't have the picture of his before and after legs with his psoriasis. Oh my gosh, Mike. His psoriasis was so bad, and now his legs are totally clear. But he lives in Southern California. Oh, cool. And he is working on, there's a link. I put a link in that video description. Because he's wanting to open up like a carnivore retreat type of a place. Like that's on his to-do list.
Look at this. He's got a customer already.
There you go. So he's got like a GoFundMe going for that. I don't know how far away he is from opening that. But since he is here in SoCal, I think I would definitely go to that carnivore retreat once it is open, or help him in any way that I can with that. But Ellie made a good suggestion, which is take your kids camping. There is no better detox than having a screen-free vacation.
That's true. Yes. I was thinking about this earlier, so I'm just glad this topic came up because, I'm old. I'm technically a baby boomer. Mm-hmm. The boomers last year for boomers was 64. I was born in 63. So I'm probably much more like early generation X than a baby boomer, but I'm technically a boomer. And so what did we do when we grew up? We weren't allowed in the house.
Heck no! Get out of the house.
We got kicked out of the house.
Get out and don't come back till the street lights come on. You're thirsty, drink out of the hose. We don't care.
That's right. And we all had our Schwinn bikes with the banana seat. And if you didn't have a bike, you were the ones.
Streamers.
Well, I didn't have streamers.
I had streamers.
Well, the chicks had streamers. Yes.
All right. I'm a chick.
And so, yes, you are. And so if you didn't have a bike, you were the ones we were jumping over when we made the ramps. But, they hadn't invented bike helmets. So we didn't have bike helmets, and our parents had no idea where we were. And, as long as we came home when the street lights came on, nobody got in trouble. And then we all had to sit together at the table to eat. Mm-hmm. And what did we have? Usually it was like some sort of meat and potatoes and green beans or something, and maybe a salad, but it wasn't the mac and cheese. Now in the summer times we had Kool-Aid, yes, but Tang, for breakfast, but it wasn't high fructose corn syrup, which is metabolized by the body in a completely different way than sugar is. It goes high fructose corn syrup, fructose, goes straight to the liver. And so why are we seeing all these kids 10 years old with fatty liver disease? It's because we've ruined our soft drinks. If you're going to drink soft drinks, get the ones that are made in Mexico, because they still use pure cane sugar. I'm not saying it's great, but it's better than the stuff made in America. I hate to say that out loud, but it's true. And so, we didn't have computers until I was 30. Was when the PCs started coming out. Mm-hmm. And so, you weren't addicted to a screen because there were no screens to be addicted to, except maybe your TV, watching Bonanza after school or something. But, in Oregon, it rained a lot, so we did watch some TV. But, it's just totally different now. And kids have all these cool video games and lots going on with social media and stuff. And so I can see, I would have been addicted to my screen growing up if I'd have had one, for sure.
Yeah. And not only was there was the TV, but there wasn't, like, my house did not have cable because there was still just TV that you can get on your rabbit ears, which was the TV that we had. And guess who was in control of that TV? My dad.
Yeah.
And what was he watching? The news or the Laker game. End of things he was watching. And it was not, Dad put on a cartoon. Oh, heck no. You didn't go in there and tell your dad to change a channel. So if you wanted to watch TV, you watched the news or the Laker game.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to watch those things. I would sometimes watch the Laker game.
So
but
cable
so
didn't come out till like 1980.
Yeah.
And so I was 17.
So I was a little kid. No cable. No cable.
We didn't have a choice. We had 4 channels in Portland, Oregon, because there was an independent station on I think it's channel 12. There was a UHF channel too. And then of course, early on there were no remotes, so of course
I was the remote in my house.
That's the joke.
My dad get up and change the channel. And it was a knob that you clicked, like a knob. Ellie,
and if I would go too fast, he'd like, don't.
My friend Ellie, she's like 35. So Ellie, there was a knob that clicked when you.
It's called the tuner. And it had these numbers, and you just, if you want channel 8, you go to channel 8.
Click. Yeah, 100%.
And if you go to UHF, you put it on U, and then there was another dial that you turned to dial it in. And sometimes it was a little tricky, touchy.
Yeah. And I'd have to move the rabbit ear antennas around to get, when you change a channel, to make sure the reception was clear.
Unbelievable. But we had the outside built into our lives, and we had that activity built into our lives. I probably climbed every tree in Oregon growing up. So,
Yeah. And now there is so much of a fear of all the bad people that are out there, that you're going to get.
And that's real. And that's real, unfortunately.
It is real, and so when when my kids were little, like I would take them to the park, but it was like very supervised. It was like the park with mom or the backyard. Or fortunately, I'm very happy, and we still live on this cul-de-sac, but we live on a cul-de-sac. So I would let them go out, and usually one of the moms would be out there. There was a few other kids on the street at that time that my sons were little kids. One of the moms would go out there, and but they had to stay on the cul-de-sac. They could ride their bikes, but they had to stay on the cul-de-sac. It wasn't just ride. Like, we would go everywhere. We'd go to the store. We'd go in the store. We'd take our little money.
Buy Mad Magazine and some and some wax coat. Yeah, was that wax that had the liquid inside? Anyway,
all that stuff. But anyway, so it was. My kids got outside not as much as I did. They definitely watched more TV than I did, because I couldn't just say go outside, kid. Like, I felt like I always had to have supervision for them. But yeah, we were just free range kids, running around.
Free range.
Yeah.
Yep. I didn't eat grubs, but yes, we were free range. Yes.
So there you go. That's some advice, is just get your kid outside.
And join them.
And, now my kids are really, it's the same for my kids. And but even the eye doctor told my son, get outside. That was his advice to my son. And my son was just like,
well, you live in a beautiful part of the world. I mean, you do have the mountains right there.
You do.
And it's pretty gorgeous, especially when they have snow on them, which does happen in Southern California.
Yeah.
You're right.
There's still a little bit of snow at the tops of those mountains.
Right. And are you like equidistant from like the beach and the mountains? So, you could drive an hour and a half either direction, and either be in snow or be surfing.
Or it. Yeah. That's one of the nice things. Or in the other direction, you got the desert. So my brother, his channel is at All American Sender, if you're interested. But he drives a trophy truck, and he does all the crazy jumps. And I've been in that truck, and it is crazy. Hundreds of feet. I don't know. He does all this kind of stuff, off-roading stuff.
Wow.
All American Sender. He's awesome. But yeah, he can just go an hour that way out to, Anza Borrego and like all the desert areas out there, and do his crazy truck thing. So yeah, we have a lot of different, or you get on a boat and go an hour that way, and you're on Catalina Island, which is fantastic. So, just so much stuff all within, let's say, less than 2 hours, that you can go and do here. It is pretty cool. And the fact that, both of my kids, I said, hey, Uncle Evan is going to be up here. He invited me for dinner, want to go. And they're both like, yeah. So like, I can still get them at the ages of 16 and 19 to come along with me to go do some family stuff.
That's good.
In the summer, my husband takes them down to the beach. They still enjoy that. I don't like the sand, Mike. I don't like the sand between my toes.
Oh, that's weird. Most people
That's weird.
do.
I don't.
Okay. Well, I get tired of the sunshine.
Oh, really?
16 years in Arizona is just too much, man. It's like sunny every dang day. Like, can we have some rain? Can we have a cloud? Would that be
No.
okay?
No, I don't like it. It
I
rained
do.
here every day for 4 or 5 days in a row. And
You're sending it our way, I think.
poor Ellie in Florida is laughing at me because I'm like, this is like the 3rd day of rain. What am I gonna do? Like, I can't take it anymore. We SoCal people, we're very spoiled. Also, when you're a teacher, rainy days not so fun because the kids are trapped inside and they can't go out to play and they get a little. So to be fair, that is what I'm dealing with on school days when it rains.
Okay, that's fair.
By the end of the day, those kids are like, they've been cooped in. And then if it's multiple days, like one day is usually not too bad, but by the 3rd day, it's not fun.
Yeah. Well, but you know me, I used to be a weather guy on TV. So, and the reason why I always wanted to be a weather guy on TV, because I love weather and I'm rather passionate about it. And my favorite weather is snow. And behind that is thunderstorms. So, if it's snowing or thunderstorming, I'm pretty happy. And even just general rain, I like. And I like sunny days too. I won't lie, but so I got tired of it all the time in Arizona. It's just like, man, and I don't like if I'm doing a long distance drive, I prefer a cloudy day or even a rainy day. Then the sun driving annoys me. But
well, speaking of Arizona, so I'm excited to. I'm going to try to film some of this stuff. I'm not the best, you guys. I know I'm on social media, like my YouTube channel and all that, but I'm like not good at it.
You do lives a lot, but you do a lot of videos too.
I do. But I'm heading to Arizona. Speaking of Arizona, at the end of this next week coming up, and it is not like a carnivore trip. So I went to Hack Your Health, and I consider that like a carnivore trip because who did I meet up with? My carnivore buddies. And we did a lot. And my mom was with me, and she's like meat-based keto. And so it was like, let's go to the Brazilian steakhouse and let's go to the barbecue joint. And it was very carnivore centric. It was easy to stay carnivore. And on this trip, it is not centered around any kind of, that type of thing. And I'm just going with my mom to help her drive. It's my mom's thing. I'm going with her to help her drive. And she is, like I said, she's meat-based keto, but like on a trip like this, not that she does this at home, but on a trip like this, she would be fine to like eat a salad and whatever. Cause she's probably when she's at home, I would classify her as like a ketovore. But like when she goes to these, but I'm not going to sit there and do that. First of all, because I'm out at a hotel and I don't know what my stomach would do because I haven't eaten a vegetable unless you want to count my pickle. I don't,
it's fermented, so it doesn't count.
Right. I'm like, I don't think so. And then I've eaten my avocado, which is a fruit, not a vegetable. So I haven't eaten a vegetable in 2 years. So what will my stomach do if I eat a salad? I'm scared. Like, no, and I don't want to do it. So I'll try to be filming. I'll try, guys. Like I said, I'm not good at it. I'm going to try to film it all together, like what I'm eating for these 4 days. And then maybe bring it back and edit it together and like do a voiceover. Try to learn how to do a voiceover, Mike Shaw.
Okay.
Because I haven't really done that style.
You have one of these.
So I do. I do
have one of those.
But yeah, because like, what am I? So my plan is to stay on plan. That's my plan. And if I can't stay on plan, then I'm going to fast, which we all know how I love that fasting. That's what I'm going to do. So
it's good.
I'm committed to staying on plan as best I can. I think they're offering food like breakfast and lunch, I think, at this thing I'm going to.
Okay.
I think dinner's on our own. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to find some eggs. I'm not going to be worried about what those eggs were cooked in, y'all. I'm not. If I can find some eggs, I'm going to eat them. Yeah. But yeah, we're going to see like, what am I able to do? It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So 4 days.
4 days. Yeah.
On the road with my mom, who is not as strict as me and would, like I said, so we'll see. If I have to if they serve sandwiches, I'm pull the lunch meat off.
There you go. You could do that.
Like, I'm going to try to figure it out.
Try to scrape off the bad soybean oil mayonnaise.
I'm sure that there will be disgusting mayonnaise. Who knows?
Yep.
I'm hoping if they do that, it'll be like, how where they'll do like the meat and cheese maybe on the bread, and then all that stuff is on the side, like the
Yeah.
packets of the gross mayo. Like maybe it'll be
Right.
that, and then I can just take off the meat and cheese and
Right.
just I don't know. I have no idea. I asked my mom if there's a menu for this event, and she said no, not
No.
as of this time.
Well,
I know that I read their
yeah.
press release, and it stated leave your diet at home because there's going to be all kinds of food, amazing food. And I'm like, okay, well that ain't happening.
Right. And they're
So
normies anyway, so
they're normies.
even
This
their
is a
regular
normies
diet
event.
is not going to be
Yes.
good for you.
No, it will not. So
Right.
we're going to see what I can do as I'm not going to say 100% strict carnivore because like I said, coffee, pickles, and the occasional avocado,
Right.
but mostly meat, 99% meat for 2 years. I have no plans to change that even on this trip. So we're going to see.
Good. Yeah. You'll make it, and you're with your mom. It sounds like you're going to have a great time. And then of all of the ranting I just did about too much sunshine in Arizona, I love Arizona. Arizona is a great state. State 48.
State number 48.
I grew up in Oregon. I lived 13 years in Oregon growing up there. I lived in Arizona 16 years. I've lived there longer than any other place.
Wow.
And when I was, should I mention the job I had? Why not? When I was political director for the Republican Party of Arizona. So I was the political director for the state party. And that job had me going to every corner of Arizona to meet with, our Republican committees around the state and also some of the Republican clubs around the state. I got to speak and stuff. I mean, it was great. It was a great job. And I got to see the whole state. It's just gorgeous. So yeah, enjoy your time because Phoenix, even for, it's like a little LA and the traffic's really annoying, but there's some good hiking even in town. They've carved out some areas where there's desert, and the desert animals in Arizona are just amazing. So you'll have a good time.
I do love the Arizona desert. I love the desert, but I like the Arizona desert better than the California desert. I lived in Arizona for 9 months. Fun fact about me, Mike Shaw, I lived in California my whole life, except for that 9-month stint in Parker, Arizona, which is right on the border. And so I was only 8 years old, but one strong memory that I have of living there, because my dad was a pastor and his church was in California, Big River, California, to be precise. And we lived across the river in Parker, Arizona. Okay. And when the time change happens in California, we still do the time change, but Arizona does not. But we lived, it was literally like, I don't know, I was 8, but it was a close drive. Like we drove just a few minutes, like over the river,
like over the Colorado,
and then to the other side to California. And when the Californians would do the time change, we would have to adjust for that because Arizona did not do the time change and drive a few miles into.
So in the summertime, you're the same time.
Yes.
And then in the wintertime, you're an hour different.
An hour different. And so we'd have to drive into the past. An hour into the past to go to church on Sundays during that part of the year. And it was only for 9 months, but I went to elementary school. I went to part of 4th grade in Parker, Arizona.
All right.
Yes.
Go Penguins, the Parker Penguins.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Their mascot. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. I was trying to think of alliteration and an animal that starts with P. So Penguins with, I don't know what else.
I don't know what my school's mascot was. I have just vague. I mean, it wasn't very long. I didn't.
Right.
My brothers loved it because you could get on a quad, or we had a 3-wheeler at the time. They'd get on their little 3-wheeler, ATV, and just take off from the house.
Yeah.
Like you didn't have to put it on the trailer and go somewhere. Just be like, bye, peace, I'm out.
See ya. Watch, but the plants try to kill you, so you have to be careful. They try to stab you. The plants that are very stabby.
Remember, we were free range back then, Mike Shaw. So my brother was 3 years old. 3. He would hop on the ATV and take off.
Yes, I love it. That's great. That's why we're so independent now.
Yes.
I think.
So.
I think so.
That's it.
Because I can just jump in my car and go anywhere.
Of course.
I could do that right now.
When I went on a family reunion to Colorado, I didn't want to fly. It's not my favorite thing to do. And I just got in my car, took my kid, and we drove. And he helped me. He was getting his driver's license. He had to get his hours, right, of like driving.
Oh yeah.
So like
Yeah.
out between here and Vegas, I'm like, go for it, son. So he got a lot of his, driving hours then. But yeah, some people thought I was crazy. I'm like, well, I have AAA. Like I don't. Yeah,
Right.
there were people that were like, wait, you're gonna drive from California to Colorado by yourself? I'm like, well, first of all, my son's with me. I mean, I know he's not an adult. He is now, but he was 15, 16 at the time.
It's
I'm not
helpful.
by myself.
Right.
And why not?
And you had a cell phone, right?
But that's how I was raised. That's
Yeah.
how I grew up. To me, it didn't seem like a bad or scary thing to do. It was exciting, and I planned our little hotel stops along the way, and we stopped in Vegas and saw a show. That kind of stuff. It was totally fun.
And you didn't pick up too many hitchhikers, right? Just a few.
We picked up 0 hitchhikers.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
all
0.
Right, fine. People don't hitchhike anymore because no one picks them up anyway. No.
I know. I remember seeing them back in the day.
Sure.
See them out there.
I've hitchhiked a few times. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's different for guys, It's like
it is. But no hitchhikers. Here we are. I mean, that was a couple years ago, but same thing when we took a family trip to Utah, and my husband is learning. He's learning my personality traits. He wanted to leave the same day as the end of school. Like the last day of school, he wanted to leave. And I was like, oh, no. First of all, my introvert self needs a couple days to switch over.
You can press, no doubt.
Switch over. I got to switch over.
Right.
And so what we did was he wanted to go. You go, I'll follow you. So he went with my older son, drove to Utah. And then I left like a day and a half after him with my younger son, drove to Utah.
Okay.
No problems. Met up with them in Utah, met up with them.
Right.
Did our thing. And then we left early to come back because I didn't want to be gone for 2 weeks, and he did.
And those long trips are so much easier now too. It's whenever I did a long drive, I always got the family size bag of Doritos. Then that was my snack while I drove. Last time I drove, when I lived in Iowa and I went to visit my dad in Montana, I don't know how far it was, 22 hours. And I just fasted. I just didn't eat. I just fasted. I wasn't even hungry, because you're fat adapted and just like didn't faze me at all.
Yeah. I think, I mean, Arizona is 5.5 hours when I go on Thursday, but I think if I haven't done like an across state lines trip like that, as a carnivore, that last one we did was right before. And I've always been trying to eat like low carb, but I would for sure, if I was on a drive like that, or I'd eat the burger with the bun or whatever in the car. So I've never done it, but I think it'll be, like I said, if I don't think this will happen, but if there is no food for me on this trip, I'll just fast.
Yeah. It worked really well for me. I mean, like I used to drive here because my kids grew up here in Van Alstyne and I lived in Lubbock, and it's a 5.5 hour drive, 5 hour drive. And I would stop at Dairy Queen.
Right.
Sometimes 2 of them.
Yeah.
And I'd have at least 1 blizzard, maybe 2 blizzards on the trip. And I did that once a month.
So that is one benefit that I will say. Like, I'm not the best faster, but if it comes down to eating sad food or fasting, I'll fast. I'll fast every time. But when I have carnivore food in front of me, I'm going to eat. But I will say I am no longer on the blood sugar roller coaster. So like I used to just be hangry. Like if I didn't eat, or I would get so hungry that I'd be, lightheaded and dizzy. And now it's like I get hungry. Okay, it's time to eat, and then I eat my picanha, and then I'm good. And then it's like I legitimately don't think about food for hours and hours and hours.
Right.
Instead of thinking about food all the time.
Yeah. My body's kind of in a rhythm now. It's like lunch is around 11, dinner's around 5. And it's usually hamburger mixed with something. I will put salsa. I've been doing some hot sauces. The farmer's market started, so I've been getting some homemade hot sauces that I'll mix in, but also the farm fresh eggs too. So, I'll when I'm doing my ground beef, I'll also put 3 eggs in there. And so that's the base. And then I'll throw in some, usually it's, again, some of that hot sauce. Now, the next day, because usually I'll eat most of it, like 3/4 of it in the course of my day. Or if I make it at night, there'll be leftovers the next day. I'll just heat it in the microwave and add a can of oysters and mix that in.
Okay.
It may sound gross to people's palate, but man, do I like it. And I eat a lot of oysters. I just ordered a dozen cans, these small cans,
Mhm.
from Amazon. Should be here day after tomorrow.
So again, with me, no seafood for me. We can get into it if you want, but no, thank you. But people probably wonder, does she really eat picanha as much as she declare, raises that picanha banner high? Yes,
I
I
believe
do.
you. I
I
believe you
do.
do. I
So
believe you.
I go through a 2 picanhas a week. Myself and my son doesn't. He'll eat picanha, like he's gonna eat it at my in-laws' house tomorrow, like I said. But generally, he prefers chuck roast, that kind of thing. So I'll make him a chuck roast and make me a picanha, and then he has his thing and I have my thing.
Right.
But yeah, those picanhas are usually between big, more than 2 pounds, but close to 3 pounds and 4 pounds, like somewhere in that range. And I'll eat like two a week. For me. So that's I'll have a usually what I have been doing up until really recently, similar schedule to you. So because school lunches, we're on a bell schedule. We got to eat when the bell rings. We can't just wait till we're hungry. Like we can't do it. And so my lunchtime is 11:45. And so that's usually my first meal, although I have my coffee with my heavy cream in there. But my first meal where I'm eating is at school. So sometimes I'll bring even picanha bites. Like I'll just cut them, the leftovers up and just bring picanha bites. Or my other thing is soft boiled eggs. I do that frequently because it's got to be something I can bring and then just put in the refrigerator and eat.
Yeah, sounds good.
Or really occasionally my son eats those Teton. They're like grass-fed, grass-finished beef sausages. They're like Polish sausages they're very clean. It's like the meat and the spices. No
Is it like
sugar.
Costco?
You can get them at Costco, but he doesn't like those with his picky self. This is so funny. I've done videos on this, but I don't know if you've heard me say it, Mike. So not Whole Foods. Sprouts carries them, and they're the same brand, same name, Polish sausage, because they make different ones. The Polish sausage, same thing, same ingredients, but you can tell they make them a little different for Sprouts and Costco because the Costco ones are bigger. So like I don't know the weight, but like I could just tell you in calories because I read the packaging. The ones from Sprouts are 180 calories per sausage, and the ones from Costco are 220. So it's like they're bigger. So, but when I discovered them at Costco, I don't have a Costco card, but my mom does. I'm like, oh, great. Buy me a whole cooler full and I'll freeze them. This will save me some money. Oh yeah. The first one, he's like, that was disgusting. That was gross.
No.
Those are gross.
How disappointing.
So I'm like, really? So, and when I taste them, there's a difference in flavor. There is. I don't think the Costco ones are gross, but he does. So I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So I have to get the ones from Sprouts. And so he eats those. Every school lunch day, I cut one of those up. I cut up a couple ounces of cheese and throw some pepperoni in a bag, and that's what he eats. And so occasionally, I too will grab the sausage, one of those sausages or two, and I'll eat that. So for lunch, so these are the things. And so like 11:45, I'll eat like a smaller meal, like maybe 2 soft-boiled eggs, or like 4 ounces of cut up picanha, or one of those sausages with a little cheese, or one of those sausages with an egg. Something like that is generally. And then I'll come home and eat my 3/4 of a pound to a pound of like picanha. And if it's not cooked fresh, then I just throw it in my air fryer to, just reheat it a little bit.
Right.
I eat that. And if I don't eat picanha, then it's usually burger patties. Like if there is no picanha, then my other thing is burger patties. But when I've been shopping on Walmart, like I went on today, that's where I get my picanha. More and more, it's out of stock. And I don't know if it's because they're about to not carry it anymore because it's gotten popular. I know a lot of Walmarts don't carry it. Like
you made it too popular. It's your fault.
So I've been looking for other places where I may have to change. So last time I got 3, like I don't order one at a time anymore. I order 3 or 4 at a time because I'm like, if they have it, I'm going to get a bunch and put them in my freezer.
I've never seen picanha in a store. I never have. So I don't know.
So Wild Fork Foods is a website that has it. And lo and behold, I found out from my SoCal friends, they have 3 locations, actual brick and mortar locations in SoCal. Now I'm going to have to drive a little bit. But I'm thinking during my summer break, I'll do a video on that. I'm going to go to Wild Fork Foods, and I know that they'll have it there. So I may have to go there and buy a bunch of them and just bring them back and put them in my freezer, my garage freezer.
Are you going to have the same issue you did before when you got your quarter cow or whatever it was that was grass-fed and you didn't quite like the grass-fed taste?
So what's funny is my brother, because I said, hey, do you want to go in on another half beef? And he said, not with that farmer. So he didn't like it either.
Wow.
So I'm like,
Okay.
I don't know. He's like, I don't know what it was. I said,
Interesting.
and it wasn't, it was grain finished,
Okay.
but I could still sort of taste that grass. What I thought was
Yeah.
the grass fed, I could taste it,
Mm-hmm.
but less so. And so I was willing to eat it, but he's like, I don't know if the cow was like stressed out when it was killed or what, but I didn't like that beef. And I'm like, that is so interesting.
That
So we're
is.
looking for another source.
Okay.
The problem is I know that there's other sources, but there are none for that. Like they're way more expensive, way more expensive. This place where I went was like under $6 a pound, all fed. Like it was under $3 a pound on the hoof. And then you got to pay the, the kill fee and the
butchering and the wrapping up. And
yeah. So it was like less than $6 a pound for all of it, which was a great price. Just the price I would want to pay. In all the other ranches / farms in the area, you're paying a lot more than that. So I don't know. I told my brother to put his feelers out there because he's not a carnivore, but he eats a lot of meat and he has some carnivore friends. So we'll see if he comes up with anything. I don't think that the Wild Fork picanha is grass finished. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to give it a shot. Yeah. Or I'm going to try my local grocery store, which is, I haven't tried this yet. My mom got it at this grocery store, but she doesn't live in the same town as me. So like same chain of grocery stores, different city. Yeah. But she had to go inside. She had to go to the butcher counter. I know I can search for it on their website, but it's already cut into steaks. Like I could order it that way.
Oh, okay.
But I'm going to have to go to the butcher counter and be like, I want a picanha as a roast. Don't trim it.
Yeah. So if it's cut as steaks, is it like chuck roast or whatever, where you have to cook it a long time to break up the, to soften the fibrous meat, or is picanha more, will it cook like a steak?
So picanha is people have asked me, is it chewy or tender? I'm like, it's mostly tender. To me, there's like one end that's a little tougher. So in a roast, there's one end I'm like, oh, that's going to be the little bit chewier end. This end is going to be the tender end. Almost everyone is like that. Yeah. But I have cut a roast into steaks myself, but I haven't cooked them like in my cast iron. I've just put them in my air fryer and done it that way. And it's delicious. Not as good though as my oven method that I use, but it's good. It's still good. So like if I want picanha and I want it now and I don't have any cooked up, I will slice that roast into steaks. Okay. And then just air fry it that way. And it's pretty darn good. Like it's good. I've
never tried it. So I've never found, I'm still a ribeye guy. It was really weird when I lived in Iowa. Of course, Walmart was a 35-minute drive. But so I didn't buy I couldn't find T-bones. And when I was visiting my folks in Montana, and I was carnivore then, cause we did some lives from Montana, so my stepmom, she was buying me T-bones. And so I've got some T-bones now too. I really like T-bones. So it's mostly ribeyes and T-bones if I'm doing steak, sometimes a little bit of pork, and a little bit lamb burger if I can find it. And also I have now a local rancher where I buy from. And so every 2 weeks, my order, I pick it up at the farmer's market, and it's usually about 9 pounds of ground beef. And then a couple pounds of where they mix in the heart and liver. I think they call it ancient blend or something like that. And I was getting a couple ribeyes, but man, there's $30 each. So I dropped the ribeyes, and I just buy those from the store at $16 each. still ridiculous. I haven't eaten
ribeye in probably a year. I'm not kidding. Except the one when I went to the restaurant for Valentine's Day, we went out and I had a ribeye. But as far as at my house, I haven't purchased any because they have not gone on sale.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's still spendy out there. And California is getting rid of more cows. I don't know if you saw that story just a day or two ago.
I didn't, but you're making me sad. Is it our dairy cows?
I don't think so.
A lot of dairy California milk, and all that.
Maybe it is dairy. No, I don't think it is. I think it's cow cows. Yeah. Some sort of regulation. They're running farmers off their land or something.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
California believes in that global warming stuff. So cows are the problem. So that's a problem. But I'm just happy I'm supporting a local rancher farmer, and the quality of the meat is great, even though it is Yeah, I think the hamburger's $6 a pound, $6.50 a pound. Instead of at the store, be closer to 5.5. But it's worth it. I'm not getting any weird additives or anything, so it's great.
What's funny is my half beef that we got, the ground beef from that same cow was the best ground beef I've ever had.
Wow.
So good. It was the steak and the roast that I could just have. To me, it was that hint of like grassiness.
Well, to you and your brother.
Yeah, he tasted too, and he was like, "I don't like this."
Right.
And so it wasn't just me, but he agreed. The ground beef, which is what you get the most of, was really really good. But yeah, so yeah, very weird. And for me, $5.89 or whatever it was a pound, even for ground beef, it's a decent price. And then we got the ribeyes, we got the all that stuff in there too. But yeah, we'll find something. They don't do any of that other stuff. I bought a picanha from them, and I still I don't even know if I'll ever cook it because they cut the fat off. Like, it's not picanha anymore. Not picanha anymore.
Oh my gosh, that's the best part.
It's all trimmed off. It's like just a lean. It's like a sirloin, basically.
Wow. Well, here in Texas, everyone cooks brisket, right?
Yes.
And there's a way to trim your brisket, and I'm like, what if you don't trim the brisket?
What if you just didn't do that?
What if you just didn't do that?
Yeah.
I think that would be even better.
Yeah, I think it might.
I don't. I live in an apartment. I'm on the 3rd floor, which is great because I climb stairs multiple times a day. And I work on the 2nd floor. My little cubicle's on the 2nd floor at work. So I'm getting lots of stairs built into my day, which is great. But I can't barbecue here. I mean, I've got a little deck out here, but you're not allowed to barbecue and stuff on there for obvious reasons. Don't want to burn the place down. Even though I do have homeowners insurance or whatever, renter's insurance. Yeah. But let's not test it. So I would have to go all the way to the office, which is quite far from here. And, I don't know that I would use a public barbecuer to cook a ribeye for 6 hours.
Right. Yes.
I'm not hanging out at the pool for 6 hours like I did when I was in my 20s.
Right. I tried it. I'm just lucky if I get out in my backyard for 20 minutes. I try to fit in as many things as I can. And we started this talking about fitness, so we'll just wrap it up that way too. Okay. When I'm the most successful with my fitness is when I fit it in. I did a video like fitting in fitness, because it's like if I'm standing there waiting for whatever to happen, like I'm waiting for the pan to heat up to make my son's eggs, I can bust out 30 squats while I wait. That's when I remember that. If I squeeze it in like that, I can do it. If I'm like, I have to work out for 30 minutes, I'm like, I can't do it. It's like, I mean, I can walk on my treadmill for that long if I have like my YouTube video that I can do while I'm doing that.
Right.
But my brain just wants to go do other things. And so, but if I fit it in, and I will tell you, the day you said you joined the gym, when I was out there doing some grounding, I did some squats. I did some while I was doing my grounding. So if I get out there while I'm doing my grounding, do a few squats or a few calf raises or whatever while I'm standing out there. And it's even next to a big trampoline that my boys are way too big and don't use anymore, but it's still out there from when they were little. That's about like waist height. So I can do some push-ups on that. Like grab the bar, and that way I'm not like all the way. I don't want to do push-ups in the grass because I just don't want to. So I can do them on that. That kind of thing. And I find if I do it while I'm out there, because it's like I'm triple. So I'm grounding, I'm getting sun in my eyes and on my skin for vitamin D, and I can fit in a few squats. Woo! That's like multitasking, which I feel like I enjoy.
It's very efficient. Yes.
I think it's my teacher life, like being efficient. If I'm just doing that one thing, it just drives me bananas. Like I feel like I need to go be doing something else.
I feel bad for teachers, and I have a lot of respect for the good ones. And I mean, you must be grading papers till the middle of the night sometimes.
Can I just tell you, my brother and I he's a teacher too. He teaches high school physics.
Oh, cool.
High school physics with
one of my favorite classes.
Yeah, with a class of math, but next year he's just going to be straight physics and no math because he's switched districts, so he's getting tenure. He's also my little brother, so he's like 9 years younger than me. But he's moved around. Like I've been in the same district all 25 years. He's like taught in Virginia. Now he's here. He changed schools since he's even been here. Anyways, my point is all physics. we were just talking about all that stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
no, they don't pay me to be at my house, like grading stuff. So teachers do that. And I understand that we are salaried employees, but
Right.
teachers make not enough money for me to spend my personal time doing work because
That's
they're not
fair.
paying me. Like my salary is, we have contracted hours, right? It's 7:15 a.m. to 2:44 p.m. Monday through Friday. Those are my contracted hours. So that is when I will do my work. And so that's part of the reason I teach the grade level that I do, because in kindergarten or first grade, you would definitely have to be grading papers at home because those kids have the attention span of a goldfish because they're little. My students have to sit there, like we do writing, let's say, and I don't ELA, but I teach science. We have to write in science. And so I'm like, you're going to do your claim, evidence, reasoning, essay about this topic, and they need time to sit there and write it. So while they're doing that, and I make jokes with them. I'm not over here tweeting. If I'm on my computer, I'm not over here tweeting or TikToking. It's because I'm over here grading XYZ. And so I'll be putting, so you may check, you may check our grade portal. Those grades are going in. So I grade, I grade, I don't grade at home. I grade on campus.
That's interesting. I'm so used to, like, when you said writing, I pictured them writing. And so, but they're on Chromebooks, right?
Yeah. We are one-to-one Chromebook. Now, my teaching partner, I do partnering, which is our choice to do. I teach all the math and science as she teaches the ELA and history. She's older than I. She's 50. No, she's 60. I'm turning 50. She's just turned 60. So she's 10 years older than me. And what she does is she still feels that writing is important with a pencil. And I agree with her. So she will do like every other essay, right? So one essay they do with pencil and paper, and then every other, but they need to learn to use the technology, and all of that. So every other essay she'll do a handwritten one and then a typed one.
I think all of us boomers, and you probably had this too, a callus right here.
Oh yeah, we wrote reports. Like we had to do a report on energy or animals or whatever.
Everything. You wrote everything.
And it was multiple pages, handwritten. So when my students today complain about, that's a sentence, that's so much writing. I'm like, and I get my silly voice and they go, back in my day, and I pretend like I'm 85,
That's right. I remember before there was AI. So now you just have to learn how to use the AI and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to hear it. And then they go, oh, it shocks them. When I tell them about the 80s, they're shocked.
I watched Idiocracy last night just because my son was cracking up about it so much. Yeah. And if everyone relies on AI for everything, maybe that's where we're headed.
Maybe. It's pretty crazy. Although I will say, in the right mind frame, and it can be a useful tool.
Sure.
So here's how I most recently used AI. P.S. I use it for my channel, like my video descriptions a lot,
cool. Nice.
and it kind of knows me now. So I have my chat GPT is on my meeting wellness. It's, that's what I use it for. I use it more for that than anything in my teaching life. Anyways, like it knows my channel. So I don't even have to say, like, for my carnivore channel, like it knows that's what I'm talking about now because I've done it so many times. Yep. So like my prompts don't have to be as good. But for teaching, I used it to write a call and response speech that we are going to give at 5th grade promotion. I refuse to call it graduation. It is not a graduation in 5th grade, people. It is a promotion.
8th grade was bad enough.
Middle school, but a lot of people want to call it graduation. Yep. Anyway. And so I gave it some parameters because it doesn't know me very much as my teacher self, because I just very rarely use it. So I told them, here's our mascot, here's our principal's name, all 3 5th grade teachers' names, the name of our school, and I want a call and response speech where we can have 6 students that are like the students that will get up and speak. So they'll read, but then the rest of the 5th graders will respond, like a call and response to like what they're saying. And so what most of the kids are going to say is very easy and quite repetitive. But they're giving this speech about everything we've learned in elementary school and how we're going to move on to middle school and whatever. And it wrote this it's beautiful. And it would have taken hours to think of that. Yeah. And it's great. And so it's a really great tool. And I just had to tell it, I want this, and be a little bit specific with it.
Yep.
But I think it'll go over very well, for the parents there at promotion. And I told it to make it like sentimental. I didn't make it sentimental and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, it brings a tear to your eye when you read it. It's like, we came in kindergarten, blah, blah, blah. And we learned how to read and write and, all this stuff. It's very, very well done, I would say. So kudos to Chat GPT. Thank you, Chat GPT, for making my teacher life a little bit easier with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I use Grok. In fact, I was talking to Grok yesterday. You can put it on your phone and talk to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey, Grok, do you like it when I say please and thank you to you? And, she did her little chuckle thing and she goes, that's so sweet, Mike. It makes our conversation seem more real and stuff, but you have to understand, I don't have emotions like people do. So it's okay. It was really fascinating. The whole thing just fascinating.
It is fascinating. I say please to ChatGPT. I think here's the deal, Mike. Manners were like not pounded into me in that kind of way, but they were pounded into me as a kid. Yeah. And so if I'm asking for something, I say please, even if I'm asking AI, please make me this.
And for me, it was grammar, and I hated it growing up. I got constantly corrected on my grammar. Oh my gosh. And I am so thankful now. So thankful.
Can I just say this? I love you, Mom. Not that she's watching, but Mom, I love you, but she corrects my grammar all the time still. Yeah. And it drives me insane because my grammar, I know what the correct grammar is, and I know what the correct spelling is, but a lot of the times I'm now voice texting. I've fully embraced the voice texting. Yes. And so I'm just voice texting, and I'm voice texting. So I'm not going to, even to my teacher friends, like none of us, we don't go back and correct our grammar because why? We all know what we're trying to say. It's a voice text. It's not like a professional email that we're sending to a parent, or it's not that. And so I'll do that with my mom, but I know better. If I'm going to voice text my mom, I have to go back because it still hurts my feelings when she corrects my grammar, and she will do it.
Well, my mom corrected me and I needed it. Up until the year before she died, I was still getting my less and fewer mixed up. So
yes.
And now I don't. Or if I do mess up, it's on purpose for comedic effect.
For comedic effect, yes.
Or at least I think it's funny. Anyway,
my students.
Comedy's so subjective. Anyway.
It's very subjective. Yeah. But so I'm thankful to my mom for doing that. But she'll correct me to this day. So while I have embraced that this is a tech thing, and I'm not worried about changing it, and I'm not going to let that grammar mistake that my voice texting did bother me. And I'm perfectly fine to send that to anyone, my husband, my kid, my teacher, friend, whoever. But my mom will correct me. So I go.
Good job, Mom.
Before I send it to her.
Because she loves you. That's why.
Yes, I know. Yeah. And to be fair, also a teacher. She was also a teacher.
Yeah.
I come by it honestly. She can't not correct it.
So does this bug you as much as it bugs me? Where are you at? Or ending a sentence with the word at, I hear it a lot.
Yes.
Well, that's just where we're at right now. It's like, no, that's where you are. It's where we are. Yeah. Anyway. So, I don't correct people to their face. It just inside it, I cringe a little.
Yeah, we correct our students, and we get into the can I versus may I.
Oh yeah.
So if they say can I, we just glare at them.
I don't know. Can you?
I don't know. Can you? Or sometimes we'll just glare. We'll just give them the teacher face, and then they go, I mean, may I, whatever. Yeah. And then they get to where they think it's funny, and then they actually will correct each other.
Yep.
And they'll be like, that's not English. And I'm like, your English isn't Englishing. Don't do that, And so they get it. But they'll start to correct each other. So but what's funny, what they don't, have you been around enough young people to hear the term, like you're supposed to say, I need to go look that up. Like, I'm going to go look that up. They will say, or I'm going to go search for that. Mm-hmm. It's one of those two things. Like I'm going to search that on YouTube or on Google. They will say, search it up. I'm going to go search up.
I've not heard that.
And they've said it.
I kind of like it.
They've said it for about 10 years.
I kind of like it. Search it up.
So the young people, I'm going to go search it up. So they don't say look it up, and they don't say I'm going to go do an internet search.
I'm going to adopt that one.
I'm going to search it up. And so, and at first it bugged me. Like for 2 years, It's not a word.
Yeah,
And
well,
now I've heard it so much that it no longer bothers me. But when I tell them that that's not proper English, like you kids made that up about 10 years ago.
yeah,
And
right.
I'll be like, kids these days, just
Yeah,
making
that's
up
right.
stuff. And so, but yeah, they made it up and they're like, really? Like the kids now, because it's been for about 10 years, which my students are 10 and 11 years old. So for their whole life, search it up has been a thing.
I
And so
love it.
they don't even realize that that's new and that they made it up. I said maybe they'll add it to the dictionary. They're always adding
Right.
things to the
Yep.
dictionary, but
Yep.
search it up is you guys combined, look it up and search for it. You
Yeah.
combined it and you
Search
made
it up, man.
I'm gonna go search it up.
I love it. I'm stealing it. I'm gonna be hipping today.
You are gonna be hipping today if you
Yep.
say search it up.
Whenever I say I'm hipping today, my son goes, "No, stop. Just stop."
What did I say the other day? And I know that I said it because my kids lost their minds, but I don't remember the context. But I referred to something as the OG something. Like I didn't say this, but in carnivore context, Kelly Hogan is one of the OG carnivores, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I didn't say that. I said something related to what we were doing, the OG something, and they
Right.
lost their mind. Like you
You know what OG stands for, right?
First of all, yeah, I know what it stands for.
Right.
You use internet talk, they said. You use internet talk.
That's funny. Yeah, that's funny.
Sometimes.
Yeah, since I made my first website in 1992 or something, before there was really the World Wide Web yet, my son calls me the OG website guy. Yeah.
Yeah, see?
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I know that I use that pretty regularly, I guess, but I guess I haven't used it in the classroom because I've been with these kids almost a full school year.
It's not dirty or anything. So
no. But they were shocked that I would use that. Knew what that terminology was, and that's old. People have been saying OG for a long time. But anyway, they were shocked that I knew what that terminology was, number one, and number two, that I used it.
You're the OG OGer. So
I'm the OG OGer. That's right. Yeah.
Exactly.
The slang they use today is a little it all has some these connotations that are what these kids know today. But anyway,
the internet has ruined them.
Yeah.
They know too much.
They know too much. It's quite sad. Sad.
Yep.
But yes, OG. So now I will try to use OG as much as possible between now and June.
Yeah, right. Work it into your videos.
Yeah. So yeah, they do think it's pretty cool that I have a channel and and how many subscribers. And sometimes they ask me, how many subscribers do you have now?
Right.
What video are you making this weekend?
So they know you're a carnivore.
They know I'm a carnivore, and I tell them all the time to eat more protein.
Yeah.
And if they tell me that protein is a protein bar or a protein shake, they know I will lose my mind. Do not tell me that. But we're coming up on test taking season. So when we come back from spring break, we have 1 week and then state testing begins. And in 5th grade, we test for 3 weeks because we do math, ELA, and science, and really 4 weeks because PE also.
I remember the California test. I went to up to 3rd grade before we moved to Oregon.
Yep. And so I try to tell them, please eat some protein. So the school is going to continue to give you their sugar bomb breakfast. Right. And when I'm in there, when they're eating breakfast, I encourage them to read the labels and what do you notice? And then I inform them that where it says whole grain, whatever, that's actually sugar, and that the second ingredient, which is sugar, is also sugar. And the corn syrup, which is a little further down, is also sugar. So they're eating sugar, sugar cubed. Yep. And then they're like, wow. But then they keep right on eating it. But I'm hoping, because right now, Mike, it doesn't make them feel bad right now. I mean, probably it does, but they're not realizing it. They're not suffering.
Right.
They're not diabetic. Some of them, most of them aren't diabetic, or if they are, they don't realize it or whatever. They don't get it. I'm hoping maybe in 20, 30 years, they look back and go, I've put on all this weight. I'm metabolically unhealthy. I had this crazy teacher in 5th grade. Right. I remember she used to tell me XYZ, right? So anyway, during the state testing, I'm like, for the love of testing, will you please, I say that a lot, for the love of math, or for the love of math.
I love it. Love of math. For the love of everything that is right and good. That's what I say.
Eat some protein for your breakfast, and don't, if you can afford it. Some families where I teach cannot afford food. But
If you're a kid and you don't pass your test, do you get left behind?
So for these tests, you do not get held back. We no longer really hold kids back, which I think there needs to be more of that, especially in kindergarten and first grade. If you don't know your
reading.
If you don't know your letters by the end of first grade, please do first grade again. But they don't. They send them on and so on. So anyway, that's a whole other topic. But it does affect them in some ways. So here's how.
It goes on their permanent record, for one.
For one, it's on your permanent record.
That's right.
For two, there are, and they kind of go back and forth on this, but sometimes, like, if you don't pass your ELA or math portion of your test, instead of getting your elective in middle school, you will do like a remedial math class or a remedial ELA class, because in middle school they start having electives and they
What's
have
ELA? Like, English language arts?
English language arts.
Okay.
So they have electives in middle school, which there's like 8 choices, and the kids really do get to choose, art or technology or band or whatever they want to do. But like in some cases, if they don't pass that state test, instead of getting to choose that class, they have to do like remedial, whatever it might be. That's happened in the past. I don't know. They just opened a new school last year, and I don't know if they're doing that over there. They will also make, like, at the very beginning of the year, we all do intervention with kids that aren't like at grade level. And there's times built into the day for that. And we have aides and things that might pull kids and do things. Well, how do we pick those groups? Well, those test scores.
Right.
So I tell my students, like, you need to do your best. And, you need to do your best, because if you blow this test off, and you really should get a passing score, it's called MET standard. If you really should meet the standard, but you did not meet the standard or only nearly met the standard, then you might be put into an intervention group that really you don't belong in. So that's just silly. Why would you want that to happen to you? So things can happen from these scores. Like I said, they create groups or classes or things based on the scores. So yes, my kids will go to the next grade, but they may end up in some special grouping. And if they need it, that's great. Like, that's what it's supposed to be for. But if they're there because they blew off the test and didn't try their best, that's just a shame, but they'll do it anyway.
And the kids that do really well may land in some sort of tag class or something.
Yeah. So as of now, although there's a strong opposition to it,
really,
in 7th grade. So in 6th grade, everybody takes 6th grade math, but in 7th grade, the paths diverge. To where you would go into advanced math or remedial. It's not called that, but
regular math,
whatever it's called. Right. And then in 8th grade, if you go to the advanced, then in 8th grade, you would be taking algebra 1 instead of 8th grade math. And so those paths diverge, and it is based a lot on those test scores, but there's a lot of pushback on that right now, saying you should not do that. I mean,
well, I'm
not going to get into why, because I'm an agent of my school district and I'm not supposed to say negative.
Okay.
So
I get
I'm
it.
not going to. So, so you can probably see where I stand on that.
Well, but, because when I was in school, math was my thing. And I think it was 7th or 8th grade. One of my friends had a different math teacher, and he was allowed to do algebra like in 8th grade. And like, I was so tired of the same old stupid math for years. I was ready to move on, probably sooner than that even. And I was like, I asked my teacher, and he's like, nope, not gonna show you algebra.
Well, and the sad thing is once you get put in one of those tracks, like once that split happens in 7th grade, if you go into the lower class, let's be real, you're not moving over. Like you were saying, your teacher, it's not going to happen.
Right.
Because you're kind of stuck, in that track. Now, when you go to high school, you may have another chance. If you score very well, the 8th grade teachers make recommendations to the high school of like my son, not that he's doing very well in geometry, or did very well in geometry, but they recommended that he skip algebra 1 as a freshman and go through, geometry. So the option can occur again, but then same thing once in high school, once you get on that track, you're kind of there, for those.
Well, because your prerequisite is you can't take the next one until you finish that one.
Correct.
And so it just limits how far you can go. That's how
the testing can affect a kid. And some of them don't understand that it's a lot. It's a lot of testing. It's 3 weeks. It's hard. Nobody likes sitting in a silent room for 2 hours all morning. Like nobody likes it, but we give them we just do the best we can, because as a teacher, I have to give the test. Like, I just work here. That's beyond my pay grade.
You got to make sure they're not cheating. That's your job,
yes,
right?
we got to make sure we got to circulate the room, make sure they're not cheating, make sure they don't have a device, a phone or whatever, not let them go to the bathroom, all this kind of stuff we got to do.
Right.
Whatever. But then we let them know, like, look, guys, if you're trying hard, we're going to give you definitely not, but might be extra recess, but we're going to say it's PE. We're going to be doing something, but it's extra recess. Like we tell the kids that, you know, and then they laugh. If anyone asks you guys, this is PE minutes that we need to make up. This is not, but definitely is extra recess. Right. You know, if you're, you know, because they're going to be trapped inside for 2 hours being silent, you know, every morning, which is not how we teach anymore. When we were kids, Mike, we sat in rows and we were quiet, or the teacher threw a piece of chalk at our heads. It's not like that anymore. They sit in groups, they talk to each other. In fact, that is, we strive for that. We know we want the kids talking and that kind of stuff. And so, but to sit there for 2 hours in silent land is not they're not used to having to do it. It is hard on them. So we will do everything we can. But so I tell them, eat protein in the morning, please. If you have an egg, eat that. If you have some like yogurt, eat that, because it's better than a honey bun, which is what they're going to feed you in the cafeteria. And then we'll do lots of extra outside time and all this kind of stuff to try to keep them, because it will affect you. It could affect you. And you know, where you end up next year as far as classes, as far as groups and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it is.
Good teachers like you are gold.
Aw.
So thank you. Yeah. Thank you for what you do. It's going to make a difference in a lot of lives. It's cool.
It is cool when they come back. So like last year or the year before, I had one come back. She was a senior in high school. She gave me a big hug and she's getting ready to go into the Navy.
Oh, wow.
And she was like, it was because of you. And she goes, I looked you up. I found, oh, you're still here at our school. And I had to come in person.
That's
and
great.
Tell you that it was because of you that I, you know, made it through high school. And now I'm going into the Navy. So we do get these kids coming back. I had one come back who came to me brand new, spoke no English, you know, from Mexico, speaking perfect English. And, you know, in high school, and she was on her way to college, saying it was because of me. You know, when she left me, she still barely spoke any English, and I don't really speak that much Spanish. So what do I know? But she's like, it was because of you. Wow. Like
you inspired her.
Did. Yeah. And so now she's like, you know, able to go on and, you know, do what she wanted to do. So you do get these kids coming back. You know, usually it's their senior year of high school. Sometimes it's when they're in high school, whatever. Or, you know, you see them, you know, and they've bought their first house. Like my students are now buying houses and getting married and like having kids of their own. I'm about to start. I've had one kid of a kid. So I had them and then I had their kid as their 5th grade teacher. And that's now happening more and more frequently. So at the fall festival, I saw several of my old, you know, my kids. I still call them my kids, even though they're 30, whatever. You know, and they're there with their little 2nd grader. And then they're like, yeah, they're going to be in your class in just a few years here, they tell me. And
because you're going to be the big 5-0.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy to have this like multi-generational.
Yeah. That's wild.
It's very wild. Yeah. So.
Well, you should be in media like me. You just move around. I mean, I usually like stay 10 years in one spot and then leave. But then 2 years in Iowa and then 3 in Lubbock. And I've been here 2.5 months. If
I move, it'll be when I retire from teaching, and it'll be to, you know, go someplace. I stay in California for the climate.
Yeah. Right.
Not the political climate, the climate.
Sure. The actual climate.
And that's about the only reason at this point. Yeah.
Well, Arizona's nice. It's hot though. Phoenix has already had their first 100-degree day.
Woo! Yeah, we haven't had that yet. We will.
You probably want to check. I mean, you're in the desert area too, so you get pretty hot.
Not the desert, but close to it. We get multiple 100-degree plus days here.
Right. Yeah, Phoenix. When I lived in Tucson, I always said, you know, I don't get cranky till it hits 110, and it does. Yeah. Yeah, and I was cranky. Yeah.
I just don't go outside. That's all. That's the bummer. But you know, in summer here, it does get hot, but that's when I can do my sunrise walks. Like, cause at sunrise, it's like 78 to 80 degrees. somewhere like that at sunrise. And so I get out there, I do my walk, I watch the sun come up, and then I hunker down in the air conditioning.
I'm glad you, yeah. So, yeah, because when I first, and maybe it's when you first launched your channel is when I first discovered you, but you were doing your sprints.
Yeah.
And so in the dark and not caring what the neighbors thought. And, you know, and you actually got to know one or two of them because they're out walking their dogs or whatever.
Yes.
And I just thought that was so cool. Now, I'm trying to remember if it was before or after that, because when I lived in Lubbock for 3 years, and after Mom died, then I started walking around the park. And so I was doing quite a bit of walking. It was really good. And, you know, would rock out to my favorite songs and do these laps around this, about a mile track, dirt track. And so then I started throwing in some sprints. And I can't remember if it was before or after you started your channel. But one day I went sprinting, and I was like, because, you know, I've told you this before too. I was a sprinter in high school. And so my brain was like, okay, let's sprint. And so I went for it. And I was going to go about 40 yards, and I made it about 20. And my calf, I felt something in my calf, felt like a rubber band snap. It was bad. It was so bad. I lived on the second floor then. So somehow almost not crawled, but got to my car, and then got upstairs, and then found some ice. And it was just, it took weeks to heal. And it's just a lesson, you know, you're not 17 anymore, and, you know, work your way up to that kind of stuff. And it may take longer than you like, but, you know,
I want to get back into sprinting, but when I was sprinting every day, I was for sure sore every day. But I wish more people would watch my vlog, because I traditionally stink at vlogging, but these were short, and I did one every day. And then for a while I would combine them. I would do like day 15, 16, 17, because they were real quick. They were just like, here's what's going on. But I would say the coolest stuff, like one day, Mike, I saw an owl in a palm tree. How many times in your life have you seen an owl in a palm tree? Like,
never.
And there he was at the end of my street, you know, and I see these cool looking sunrises, and the mountain just kind of looking like cardboard against the I mean, just cool stuff, hot air balloons and hawks and all this cool stuff. But I really felt great when I was sprinting. I don't recommend it every day. And then I just kind of got off of the pattern of doing it. I never had a calf thing. For sure, there were times where hamstring was pretty questionable.
Tightening up on you.
When I sprinted every day, I had my quadricep just squawking at me, my left one. Every day. But it was never to the point that I didn't feel like I could do it. I always had to ease in. So start off at a jog and ease into that sprint. I have sprinted since, mostly when I'm doing my walk, like you. So even now, like last summer, I walked almost every day, and I would try to incorporate anywhere between 4 to 6 sprints. So I walked 5 miles, but then I would just sprint short distances, just take off sprinting. But when I was the most successful was when I went out in the dark, like lights on my street. It wasn't like pitch dark, but anyway, and just run back and forth a few times up and down my cul-de-sac.
You did it at dawn.
At dawn, sprinting at dawn.
Coolest part of the day.
It didn't take long, so my mind cannot do that thing. Like I said, it wasn't 30 minutes. Like sprinting a few times like that was maybe 10 minutes, because you know you rest in between. And you're literally just running to the end of the street, and then stop and take a few breaths, and then run again.
So if you did that again, would you do it like every other day? Give your body time to recover?
Every other day. I had set myself, I'm going to sprint every day for 30 days. And so that's the kind of person I am. And I'm not totally a type A, but like if I say I'm going to do something, by golly, I'm going to do it. So I sprinted every day for 30 days. And by the end, I was a lot less sore. The first 2 weeks, I was limping around. It was all I could do at work to not limp, so that I didn't look, but I wanted to limp. But I didn't want to be limping in front of my students. But I will say, at the beginning of that 30 days, I raced my students. They all beat me. And at the end of those 30 days, I beat all of them.
There you go. That's fun. Kids remember that stuff.
Oh,
That's
yeah. Of course, I
great.
got some hate. I got hate online. Who can't run faster than a 10-year-old? I'm like, most 50-year-olds I know. Like,
That's
actually,
right.
most, like,
I
what do
don't
you
think I
understand?
could, depending on how far it was, I don't think I could beat them right now.
Yeah.
I don't
So,
know.
like, we're
I
not
don't
talking
think so.
4-year-olds. I mean,
Right.
10-year-olds are like,
Mhm.
a lot of them play soccer,
Yep.
whatever.
Yeah.
They can all pretty much outrun and every adult I know at my
They've got
school.
that motor running, you know?
Yeah, I don't think any adult could beat any of the 10, including me right now, because I have not been sprinting. But I don't think any adult at my school, and I'm not, but yeah, I got some
So
trash talk for like,
that's
well,
my
you
new
just
goal then. I want to
beat a 10-year-old.
get in good enough shape to beat the 10-year-old class of Van Alstyne.
There you go.
Let's go.
So it was a lot of fun. It was
Mhm.
only in the first, so I ran against each class separately, and the second two, I gassed myself out in that first one, which was
Right.
my class. And then
Yep.
there was 2 other 5th grade classes. So I ran and I beat at least half of them, but I had gassed out. But in that first
Right.
race, I beat my whole class. And I was like,
Yes. That's what
and the cool
matters.
thing is they thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
So the people giving me hate online, whatever, the kids were
Yeah.
like, whoa, look at you go. Good job. They were like clapping for me and,
Mhm.
and it was just fun. And they're like, can we race again tomorrow? I'm like, nope.
It's kind of like where we started with the carnivore cops. Who cares
Who
what
cares?
people online say?
Yeah.
You've got haters, you know.
Yeah.
I've have been in the past very visible political online and had some nationwide notoriety a few times. And, you know, people hate you.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just means I'm being effective.
That's right. I
Yeah.
think so too.
Mhm. Yep. Yep. No doubt.
Well, we have been at this for over 2 hours and
That's our typical. Yep.
I know we do, but
Mhm.
I'm going to need to head off here and make some
Yep.
breakfast for my kid.
It's
And
lunchtime for me.
so yeah, it's 9 a.m. here. I'm sure he's on spring break too.
Yeah,
So
it's 11:10 here.
sleep in. But yeah, I'm gonna go get him up, get him some eggs and sausage, which is his go-to breakfast. But we should definitely do this again. I want to hear
Yeah.
how you evolve at the gym from your walking
Mhm.
on a treadmill to whatever weights you may start. And I'm gonna try to fit in some more fitness. I'm gonna try getting in some squats and things like I used to.
Very good. Well,
Yeah.
it'd be good for everybody. So yeah, we should do it again. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
thanks everybody who hung in there. We kind of
Mhm.
hung out about the same number of viewers. I'm sure some of you came and went, but if you're
Right.
still here with us, thank you so much for watching / listening in. And we'll see you around the YouTubes.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.